I think the program Adolescence has really provided a glimpse into how toxic influences are filling a void in young men's lives. In fact, I believe Adolescence should be compulsory viewing in all our secondary schools right across this country. Social media has such an influence on young lives, and that's why I think in Europe and Ireland we need to be true to our values, even if others in the other parts of the world decide to go a different way. These so-called influencers are feeding young men a warped view of what it is to be a man. And let us be clear, the likes of Conor McGregor and Andrew Tate should not be social media influencers. They should be social pariahs. And their behaviour is wrong, it's retrograde, it's degrading, it's damaging. They're normalising behaviour that is totally and utterly unacceptable. And everybody in this house, we should speak with one voice in relation to this. Not social media influencers, social pariahs is what they are.
Yeah, because you know about like a sick burn, you know, you only really can make it matter if you repeat it.
Yeah, I hate this guy with a passion. Like, it's fucking, he's so weak. Surely the question to be asked, well, do you tell us, fucking wise one, what is a man? Are you the archetype of manliness?
Yes, and at home we are watching Adolescence with our children. I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl. And it's a very, very good documentary to watch.
Oh, yeah, it's not a documentary, you fucking gimp. Nasally stuffed arsehole. Oh, another one. I hate this cunt as well. Like,
yeah. Look, this is how enraptured he even was in the show. He thought it was a documentary. He didn't slip up and say comedy. He didn't slip up and say sci-fi. No, he slipped up and said documentary, because that's what his rat brain thinks it was.
I have learned that isn't what masculinity is to me anymore. I don't want my role in society to be one where I need to provide for the women in my life. I want my masculinity to be something that contributes to society, to make sure that women can provide for themselves as equally as I can, and that they can provide for me, ideally. They can provide for me, ideally.
You dirty pimp.
Wow.
Yeah, string of bitches bringing money in for you, do you? You degenerate. Look at this cunt. Like, if ever there's a red flag. Listen, if there's any women listening, and a guy that looks like this approaches you, run 100 fucking miles away from him.
And I don't want to be called on to protect women in my life. I want to do everything I possibly can as a man to make sure that we live.
Can you fucking believe it? Oh, God. What else do we say about this? I mean, everyone knows what it is at this stage, right? We've all heard of it.
Yeah, everyone knows what it is. Like, I haven't watched it. I didn't have the energy. It's, you know, I probably will watch it. You did watch it, so you said by all accounts it's pretty good. Like, it's well produced. I think you likened it to Triumph of the Will, in terms of, you know, how well it's produced, and, you know, as a piece of propaganda. I don't know if that was the original intent behind the movie, but it's certainly been picked up and it's been pushed as that. I thought rather remarkably for the series itself, it's all shot in one continuous shot, which is fucking incredible. There's 4 episodes, is it?
4 episodes, yeah, all roughly an hour long. And
so
all of them are a single shot.
Yeah.
And you have to consider that there's the boy who's like, what, 12 or something in real life as well as in the show. And then you have teenagers as well. So this, you know, I don't mean to shit on young people, but, you know, to get them to, you know, memorize lines, you know, emotions on cue and everything, just as well as, you know, all the other different actors in one episode, to do that in one shot is incredible. Music videos struggle to do this. It's considered a fantastic thing when a music video does it, but that's only like 3 minutes, but we're talking like an hour.
Yeah.
And there's something about the one shot style is that you're enraptured, you're gripped by it, and you're constantly going. There's no breaks in the scenes. There's no, there's lulls, but not in the same way that where you can take a breather and digest what you're seeing. And that's why I liken it to the likes of Triumph of the Will. It's, it's heavy, heavy artistic merit. Well, the Triumph of the Will might not seem like much to us, but back in the day, it was huge. You have to remember the first time, cinema came out. There's this story, I don't know whether it's real or not, but it sounds real, where you have this in the movie theater, a train pulling into the station, and everyone fucking runs out of the theater because they think there's an actual train coming to hit them. But that's, you have to take this into consideration that this, even though we're used to seeing these things now, they have primordial fucking effects on us. So when politicians come along and tell us, oh, this is about this, so it's very important that we do this now. Come on, we need to work on this, guys. Then yeah, it's easy to flip that switch for people.
Yeah, because that's it's like that's people's everyday experience. Everything is one continuous shot. Like there's no, okay, let's reset here. So you could easily see how people would be sucked into thinking, okay, well, this is a documentary. It's not some sort of production. This is, like in real life streaming, like everything is just one continuous shot. It's like people have just turned on the telly and they've tuned into somebody's actual life. And the director, I think, is the same director who we spoke about it previously, made that movie. Maybe it was In Private. Boiling Point, the story about the chef. And again, one continuous shot. Which just the amount of planning that must go into that to be able to do that, like just, for an hour, just have that one continuous shot, all those shots set up to go from, one location to the next location, into police cars, then into interview rooms, and just one little step out of place. And it's like, okay, reset. And again, the production companies involved. So I had a little look into it. There was 3 production companies involved. There's the main actor's production company. What's his name? Steve, is it, or Stephen something or other? Or you remember his name offhand? Graham something. Well, anyway, so him, his
Stephen
wife.
Graham, yeah.
Yeah. So their production company is called Matriarch Productions. Then Brad Pitt's company is involved as well. Plan B Productions. And then some other production company whose name escapes me at the moment. But yeah, we just thought it was an interesting fact that we have Plan B and the patriarchy involved in this movie as well. But like you said, the big thing is how it's being pushed, particularly in Ireland and the UK, that apparently our young men still need to be taught about the horrors of toxic masculinity. And what's the premise of this movie? It's about, is it somebody who's been radicalized online, or is it incel culture that's seeped into?
Not the boy in the show isn't radicalized. He just kind of, it just picked up on the social narrative. Like, really, we'll get to it later as we go through the show. He's basically a victim of bullying, and then I guess because he's a young boy and he doesn't know any better, he just decided to stab the girl to death because she bullied him. And now that's been, blown up into, Andrew Tate's getting into the heads of our little boys and making them stab little girls.
Yeah, and Conor McGregor as well, wasn't it? It's all a bit convenient.
Oh, yeah, right.
It just so happens around the same time that McGregor comes to the fore. Not that he's got a chance of doing anything anyway, at least on a political front, Yeah, so what's the setup then? So it starts in the school setting, is it? And we see this kid getting bullied, or?
No. This is something you figure out on episode 3, I think. How it started out really was making me hate cops.
Must be ended. I ask, what more can we do? What is the government doing to tackle the rise of toxic masculinity and its detrimental influence?
Well, Deputy Neville is so right, and I want to thank you for the question. This is a really important topic for all of society, Laskin Corla. I think the programme Adolescence has really provided a glimpse into how toxic influences are filling a void in young men's lives. In fact, I believe Adolescence should be compulsory viewing in all our secondary schools right across this country. Social media has such an influence on young lives, and that's why I think in Europe and Ireland we need to be true to our values, even if others in the other parts of the world decide to go a different way. These so-called influencers are feeding young men a warped view of what it is to be a man. And let us be clear, the likes of Conor McGregor and Andrew Tate should not be social media influencers. They should be social pariahs. Their behaviour is wrong, it's retrograde, it's degrading, it's damaging. They're normalising behaviour that is totally and utterly unacceptable. And everybody in this house, we should speak with one voice in relation to this. Not social media influencers, social pariahs is what they are.
Yeah, because you know about like a sick burn, you know, you only really can make it matter if you repeat it.
Yeah, I hate this guy with a passion. Like, it's fucking, he's so weak. Surely the question to be asked, well, do you tell us, oh fucking wise one, what is a man? Are you the archetype of manliness?
Well, like this is the thing, right? He got one thing right. It's filling a void. This internet stuff that he's very afraid of. What is that void? Do we question what that void is at all?
No.
You know, it's hardly the children's fault because we're the adults. We create the world that they are born into. So is this a void that we've created?
Maybe.
Can we investigate that and maybe fill it with the healthy thing? Or do we just berate little boys for being little boys and having the reactions that they're having to the world that we created?
Yeah.
Which one?
I don't know. Like, that sounds like too much sense to me. That's no place in a political discussion in Ireland these days.
Oh my God, am I guilty of toxic masculinity?
I think so. Toxic thinking. I think it is beyond masculinity. It's thinking. You're guilty of thinking. Yeah, maybe the void that's being filled is the void that's been left by the 20-year attack on masculinity of all things, that has allowed politics in Ireland to descend to such a low level that this excuse of a man is what passes as masculinity today. This is the man who rose to the top position in the country, the leader of men in Ireland is a fucking wet, faggoty drip who couldn't stand up to a fucking strong wind. We saw him in fucking Giga Tig's video piece earlier, and he was being chased down the street, not by a pack of wild dogs or an angry mob, by Enoch Burke's father and sister, asking him some questions about what do you think about Enoch Burke. And he ran like a scared fucking schoolgirl down the road. And I don't think if people caught it, he was actually panicked. He was looking left and right. Oh my God, where's my protection? Are the guards here? Are the guards here? And that other Fine Gael blonde woman who was elected to the European Parliament, she can actually hear her. The audio wasn't in it, but you can hear, you're okay, don't worry, you're okay, don't worry. He is the equivalent of a 12-year-old scared schoolboy. He's autistic, like fuck his brother. We know his brother's autistic, but this guy that was probably too kind to call him autistic. It's a disservice to autistic people. He's just a fucking drip, and it's pathetic that this is the guy who leads our country, or has led our country, and is essentially second in command and goes to represent us as a nation in the world. It's embarrassment.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I want Conor McGregor in there, not because he can actually do anything. It's just because I have this vision of my mind of him being on the opposition benches and leaping across the fucking government benches and killing somebody, just putting him in a stranglehold. Maybe not killing him. That's too much, and could have legal ramifications. But maybe just choke him until he goes, or punch him, something that would help him to feel what it is to be punched in the face is a glorious fucking thing, because it levels a man. Because these people have, they've never been in a fight, and I'm not saying you should, but they've never been humbled. It's like the Tool song, we have the remedy. Because it's a perfect remedy for bullshit is a slap in the face. Because it makes people think, it's like, oh, fuck. I can't go around the world, doing all this kind of shit. Because eventually, if I do, some fucker who's bigger and stronger than me is going to punch me in the mouth. And that's needed to, keep manners on us all. Different people can do it in different ways. They can do it intellectually. They can, make people feel this small in a room. But we do need that. Unfortunately, we're not all enlightened beings. I've yet to meet one. But to listen to these guys, you would think that they're, some sort of, heavenly creatures who've descended from the higher realms to come down and teach us a lesson. And they're degenerate bastards. Like, really, they are. And if you can't even stand up straight, for Christ's sake, it's like straighten your fucking back when you're addressing the Houses of Parliament in Ireland. And, everything about them is fake. That stupid fucking PR pointing where it's too aggressive to point with your finger. So they bend the finger in and hold it with the thumb a la Bill Clinton and right. This guy wouldn't last a minute anywhere if he wasn't surrounded by, 3 or 4 armed guards. Like, that's the world I want, where, he's no protector.
The threat of violence is a very important thing. Okay, so I'm going to make a deal with you. We're going to watch the Keir Starmer bit, and then I badly need a minute to relieve my bladder because it's going to burst.
Okay, look.
Deputy Crowe.
Everyone is talking about Adolescence, the series by Knowsley's own Stephen Graham and Christine Tamarco. It highlights online male radicalisation and violence against girls. The creators of the show are calling for screenings in Parliament and schools to spark change. So will the Prime Minister back this campaign to counter toxic misogyny early and give young men the role models they deserve?
Prime Minister.
Yes, and at home we are watching Adolescence with our children. I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and it's a very, very good documentary to watch.
Oh, yeah, it's not a documentary, you fucking gimp. Nasally stuffed arsehole. Oh, another one. I hate this cunt as well. Like,
Look, this is how enraptured he even was in the show. He thought it was a documentary. He didn't slip up and say comedy. He didn't slip up and say sci-fi. No, he slipped up and said documentary because that's what his rat brain thinks it was.
Documentary to watch or drama. This violence carried out by young men, influenced by what they see online, is a real problem. It's abhorrent, and we have to tackle it. We are putting in specialist rape and sexual offences teams in every police force doing work on the 999 calls, but this is also a matter of culture that I think it's important that across the whole house we tackle this emerging and growing problem.
Oh, shut the fuck up. What emerging and growing problem of white boys stabbing black girls in the UK? Give me a fucking break.
I'll be back in a minute.
Oh my God, this fucking sickens me. Like, toxic masculinity, my fucking arse. There's no way. From what I see in the UK, the problem is with black youth and knife culture. And it's the same in the States. We don't have the problem over here because we don't have that culture. Yes, there are occasions when, little scroats stab other people in minor gangland, for lack of a better term, disputes, but there's no massive culture like there is in the UK with primarily, African or people of African descent gangs, related to poverty. That's an issue. There's another issue, which is an entire culture that there seems to be a lot of, stabbing of late. And that's with all the refugees that both Ireland and the UK are importing. And it just so happens that they tend to be from Islamic cultures. And that just could be a coincidence. But what we've all been told is that we're importing all these poor people who are fleeing wars and tragedies, and that most of them just so happen to be professionals. They happen to be brain surgeons and doctors is often the phraseology that's used, especially with our politicians, that, these people are fleeing wars, they're doctors and nurses and what have you. But for some unknown reason, we seem to be getting a fairly large amount of stabby, crazy fuckers who just can't help themselves stab people. But we can't talk about that because that's not allowed. That's racist and it's Islamic phobic, and we can't talk about those issues when it comes to stabby knife culture. But apparently we can talk about this big fucking issue of white boys stabbing black girls in the UK. And why
Well,
this...
not even black girls, just other white people.
Yeah, it's pretty much non-existent. Like.
It's an inversion of reality, because there is a epidemic of knife crime in the UK, and it's black teenagers stabbing black teenagers.
Yeah, I was just mentioning that, and the fact that we're importing, stabby people from different cultures who just so happen to be, mostly Islamic. And I don't know if that's an actual, causal link or not. But we have been told that we're importing mostly, doctors and surgeons and, the best of the best, helping these people out of, these terrible war-torn countries. But for some unknown reason, we seem to be getting also a large number of fucking stabby crazy cunts who, are mostly probably being, let out of prisons in these countries and just, imported over to, Paddyland and the UK. But there's no, epidemic of, white boys stabbing anyone, really. And like you just said there, the problem is to do with black culture in the UK. And it's not because they're black. Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't done the study to see if black people are more inclined to stab other black people. But it's definitely, at a minimum, it's a cultural issue. And there is that culture in the UK of, black gangs with knife crime and guns when they can get their hands on them. So for this nonsense to be put forward that, there's a real issue here that needs to be addressed because of a fucking Netflix drama, beggars fucking belief. So, and again, I don't know if they're just that dim that they're taking this in as reality, or they're just that cynical. Whereas, like, okay, well, we're not prepared to deal with any real fucking problems because we can't, because they don't actually have the power to do anything. So let's lean into a fantasy and let's solve a problem that doesn't exist. And I think that's the future for Irish politics. So then when it comes around to re-election, it's like, well, look, every fucking imaginary problem we've had for the last 4 years, we have fixed. We fixed the problem with, stabby dramas. No more fictional people have been stabbed in the last 4 years. We've solved that. What next? The one the Netflix series on human trafficking, and they'll solve that problem. An immigration episode, we solved that problem because in episode 2, they got rid of all the bogus refugees and sent them back to their countries. So that problem is solved. Yeah, just fucking plug people into the matrix now. Plug them straight into the television socket. Jack them all the way fucking in. And just get it done with, will you please, for Christ's sake? Do us all a favor. Like, come on, Elon, roll those chips out. Plug us into the fucking machine. I want to go into the Matrix. I'm sick of this bullshit. Like fucking Simon Harris. What a joke. Leader of the country. Welcome to good old Ireland. I'm sure ancestors are looking down on us and pissing themselves laughing. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Come on, wake up, cunts. Take some acid. Realize it's all a fucking sham. The whole system from top to bottom. What a joke.
I'm about to piss you off even more by you've watched this show ahead of us as well as I have when I was editing it. There are parts that you didn't see. I think so. It's just going to traumatize you all over again. Here's RT's up front, or as I call it, full frontal. Basically, kind of just milking this for all that it's fucking worth. Ugh.
Our boys and our girls are really suffering in ways that they don't even understand yet. And it may well be that apart from the short-term problems they suffer from, there's a huge number of children will suffer from long-term damage. And we won't see that until they are part of society in 10, 15 years' time.
You know what I just noticed? I can hear his jacket better than I can hear him.
Microphone down too far. Is it? That's a soul trying to escape through the fucking jacket. Like, shut up! How about some specifics, cunt? They'll be damaged by more ways than they can understand. Shut the fuck up! Do you think you're Jerry Adams? Our children back during the Troubles. Wendy,
your northern accent is getting better.
yeah, I've been practicing.
It's still, offensive to me, but okay.
Good. During the Troubles, when the IRA invented the internet bombs, and they didn't know that 35 years later there would still be fallout from Facebook. We planted Facebook down by the GPO. Little did we know that in 47 years later, our children would still be suffering today from the fallout of an imaginary problem. Shut the fuck up. Annex the whole of Northern Ireland. I want it fucking cut off the map. I want a fucking giant laser beam to come down, cut out the 6 fucking counties, and fucking put an outboard engine on it and just send it off into the fucking Atlantic. I'm done with all of them. Fuck's sake. Jesus fucking Christ. What an embarrassment. And especially to even keep the fucking unions at this stage, because this guy isn't a unionist, this guy is a nationalist. He's thinking, okay, now that we don't have a united Ireland, let's try for a united Palestine. Shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. Pick up the weapons. Oh my God. Fuck me.
Oh man, I'm getting it from all sides. My Polish friend, we call once a month to keep up with each other, and she said that I ran out of things to watch on Netflix, so I started to watch an Irish comedy show, but it was from the north, and she said that she's noticed that the people in the north are quite more ugly than the people down south. And I was like, yeah, we're not a good looking bunch, yeah. While inside I was dying, It's really upset me. But I didn't let her know that because that would just show weakness,
Being masculine. How's the triggers in? Good job.
Who's what damage?
Working. Yeah, I don't like this man. I don't like him. I don't like the guy beside him.
Can we just skip ahead? Because there's nothing he says. You're right. It's just fluff. Wait. Have I skipped ahead too far? Oh, Jesus.
Who's the black guy sleeping? Look at that. Typical stereotype. Fast asleep. Couldn't even stay awake for a fucking half-hour show on RTV.
Actually, no, he's the one. Well, I mean, it's only like 3 minutes into the show. So he has the right idea. He's like, this is shite.
Yeah, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
Hope someone checked him for knives.
what impact that will actually have on society in general.
Shut up.
Okay, that's a sobering thought and a sobering note. Thank you for that. And on that note, I want to go to our young people now, because as I say, we have a group of students here tonight. They're from Doon-on-Ree School in secondary school in Cavan. And we asked you all to watch Adolescence for us, and I wanted to get your take on it. I'm going to bring in Aaron here in the front first. What did you make of it, Aaron?
I thought it was really good at portraying what it's like, and it kind of shows the two sides as well, because I thought the likes of Adam were a lot more relevant in the show in the way that he's exposed to it too, but kind of grins it and bears it. And it also shows Jamie, which is kind of pushed to the extreme in what could happen.
Did it ring true for you? Do you recognise that word?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's definitely people out there who would really relate to both of them.
Okay.
But you can't. Don't you think that might be a problem?
This is bullshit, because this bitch has framed the question like in such a way so everybody knows like that. Okay, the main protagonist in the show stabs a girl and kills her, and then there's this other character apparently who grins and bears it. So he takes the slings and arrows from the girls and just swallows it and goes, well, I'll just go home and slit my wrists and fuck it. Yeah. Nobody cares, like, because, it's not like there's a fucking epidemic of young guys killing themselves because they feel pretty fucking worthless to anybody, and everything about them they've been told is, you're just the toxic. And what do we do with toxic things? We dump them and bury them beneath the fucking ground for hundreds of years so they don't infect or harm anybody else. And so I think if you ask the question, well, what do you think? Yeah, well, I can see it from both sides. There's this, there's some guys who will take it and there's other guys who won't. But the way this has been framed, well, there's only two possible outcomes here. It's either you grin and bear it, or you stab and kill a girl. There's a bit of middle ground, isn't there? Like, standing up for yourself. By saying, shut the fuck up, you ugly cunt. You think you're the only bitch out there that has lips that'll suck up this dick? Like, wait until I'll show you, you cunt. I'm going to take your fucking hate. I'm going to become the wealthiest guy on the planet, and you will be begging for my dick, right? And that's to put it bluntly and crudely. And that's why, guys, that's the appeal of an Andrew Tate for you right there, because everywhere guys look, it's like, oh, you can't say this. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, don't look at a girl. Oh, look at a girl. Don't say this. Don't say this. Don't approach her. And then it's like, but, I don't understand. I'm still none the better off. Like, you've got a 15-year-old horny guy who wants to get his dick sucked. It's like, but I don't understand. I can't approach. I should. I shouldn't. I can. I do. And then there's these guys who you're telling me not to be like, and they're all flocking towards them. Like, what's the fucking deal here?
Yeah.
Of course you'd be resentful. I'd be surprised. I'm surprised that there aren't bitches being fucking stabbed as I walk down the street, just left, right, and centre, from all these guys and their frustration. But what are you going to do? Here's a novel solution. How about bringing a gaggle of girls to suck dicks? Have a sucking dick Tuesday. Like, or twice a year, every holiday in school, like when the boys come back from school, there's a couple of prostitutes there to give them a blowjob, just so they can get it out of their system. So
and learn. Yeah.
Swallow it. They don't have to swallow it. The prostitutes can swallow it instead. For fuck's sake, like, let's just pretend boys are just some malleable piece of fucking putty. Shape whatever way you want, and there'll be no fallout from it. Let's fuck with the fundamental nature of maleness and expect good results. Okay, and who's going to be in charge of it? Fucking faggots and women. Oh, bravo. That will sort it out. No, it won't. All we'll have is an endless narrative, this story that goes on forever, that makes no sense to fucking anybody. Oh, I can feel myself turning into Andrew Tate already. But that's why that's why these guys go to Andrew Tate, because what he says, a lot of what he says makes perfect fucking sense. It just so happens that he's a pimp. And I can understand it from a female perspective. They'd be terrified if every dude starts pimping it up. But guess what? You keep importing the people who fucking have pimpology embedded into their fucking ideology. Oh, makes me sick. Moron.
All right. Let's stick to the
fucking hell.
I was hoping you'd say, no, that's an exaggerated world. Emily, can I ask you, from a girl's perspective, do you recognise that word?
Yeah, I think in today's world, it's like completely relevant. And Jamie's a character that most people watching the show shouldn't feel they should relate to, but obviously the heinous crime that was committed is something completely unfamiliar and a crazy idea to a lot of us, but everything that led him to that point is completely irrelevant, and he was exposed to social media, and unfortunately it resulted in him being in contact with the wrong people and giving him the wrong idea.
Wrong people? How about a wrong woman?
Well, at least she's some sense. So she...
Yeah, sure, I guess, you know, I mean, you know, the one-eyed man is king in the kingdom of the blind, you know?
Yeah. But it's some, you know, hope for the future where she goes, yeah, well, you know, I can relate, you know, people are cunts. But very rarely does it result in stabbings, you know? So it's probably a bit of a moot conversation to be having here about, you know, am I worried about somebody stabbing me in school because I dissed them? No, I'm not. But do I recognize the world where, you know, people are being bullied online? Yes. Do I recognize the world where people are being bullied offline? Yes. Do I recognize that bullying exists? Yes. Can it be done away with? No. And what's bullying? It's evolved over the years. When I was in school, bullying used to be that people were being, you know, kicked in the fucking head relentlessly. Like, it wasn't that, you know, somebody called you a name. Like, that's just part of human fucking nature, like, you know? And I don't even remember if there was only maybe 2 bullies, and they were just, you know, generally mentally retarded and from, you know, rough fucking families. And that was their culture, like. But 99% of people, you just got on with them, you know? Then if you got into an argument with somebody, well, then you would start calling each other names. And then if it progressed beyond that, where somebody got overly emotional, well, then it would become violent, you know? There was no social media, so surely social media would be a safer place to get it out because there's no physical contact and you can actually block the fucking person. But then we have rare events where people, you know, 1 in a million decide, okay, the pile-on is too great, therefore I'm going to top myself. And then the answer to that by government and agencies is, okay, well, let's shut the internet down. Let's censor everybody because we really fucking care. No, you don't, you cynical cunts. You're just using not even a real tragedy. You're using an imagined tragedy to basically pick up the mantle of fucking hate speech laws that died on their arse so you can censor people forever in the one fucking place where they can actually speak semi-freely and connect with each other.
And it's very easy for that to happen, and it's very accessible for young people.
Let's just look at exactly how a character who started off looking like a cherubic young boy. This is just a sense of
what? Sorry,
she's a character who started off looking like a cherubic young boy.
Oh, is an angelic.
Yeah, like a cherub. Like, yeah,
just say angelic, you stupid cunt.
She's a paedophile. Do you think about young boys often in cherubic form? Are they wearing tight-fitting pants?
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Morgan didn't literally mean to call the host of this show a pedophile.
I did.
Okay. Where that took him.
Look, I fucking want to sit down! You do not tell me when to sit down! Get that in the fucking little head of yours!
Yeah, just a little glimpse into a moment there. He's sitting there with the psychologist.
Yeah, a cherry-picked moment out of...
And it's a drama!
Narrative.
Jesus fucking Christ, why not show Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah.
Oh, we have this terrible problem of face eating. Like, we took this terrible clip from a movie or a horror. Nightmare on Elm Street. Don't sleep. We're banning sleep. There's a fucking horrors taking place when you go to sleep at night. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, oh my God. Somebody sink this fucking country. Dear God.
Yeah. Do we just want to skip these, you know, the audience questions?
No, I'm enjoying this. This is
I don't think you are. That's the thing.
I am, though. I am. It's good for me. We'll spare the children a beating in the morning.
I think the 3rd episode. Daniel, can I ask you, are young men feeling isolated now, even though you've never been more connected maybe in terms of social media?
Yeah, I think young men are definitely feeling more isolated than certain women because it feels like some men don't get the right protection from their parents and from other people. Like for women, they get a lot of protection for themselves, but for men, they're kind of just in their own space, and they can't really get that protection from other people.
You think we're more...
He's not like amazingly articulate, but he makes the most sense so far.
Yeah.
You know, I think the other students are just overly rehearsed.
Yeah, this guy hasn't slept in weeks. Sweating about the answers on the show, like up for fucking days on end, worrying himself senseless. Yeah, I think what he needs to say is, yeah, you know what, we're generally grand. It seems a bit unfair. Like every time anybody speaks, it's like, you know, woman this, woman that, woman, girl, and it's all our fucking fault. What did we do? Like, what have they done? Is it not bad enough that you have us all sitting here in exactly the same clothing? Not an ounce of individuality between any of them, stuck in fucking uniforms, choked by a toy, you know, sweating, covered in fucking oils. What is that? Yeah, look at the rings under his eyes. Like he looks like he's been on the sauce, like, or he's hangover or something. Yeah, but he is making sense, but it's not very articulate. But it could be easily put like, it's like, yeah, look, it's not our fucking problem, bitch. What have we done to deserve this level of nonsense from society? Like, what kind of future do you want Ireland to be? Do you want everybody to be like a fucking a wet wipe, like just these little poodles walking around at the behest of women? Do this, do that, do this, do that, and that's what it boils down to. It's a power play from women to have full control over men, and that just can't work. It can't, because it's going to go absolutely fucking bananas. And if you push a man far enough, he will snap, because you can only condition people so fucking much, and then you know, that memory, that raw animal instinct, fucking masculinity, call it what you want, that killer instinct comes to the fore, and people will just snap, you know. And I'm sure if somebody was to, you know, psychologically profile an actual incel who, you know, went as far as to stab somebody, it wouldn't because he's a toxic male. It would probably be because every male aspect of his being has been crushed. And rather than address that problem, they want to reshape all of malehood into something that it's not, never has been, and never can be, for some imagined ideal safety for fucking women, like. And to my mind, the only way that can be done is either to get rid of men altogether, or to meld us into some sort of unisex being, where we're all, you know, male and fucking female at the same time. And yeah, it's just fucking pure nonsense.
Well, I don't think he said all that, but you know, good
I can
point.
tell. It's in those eyes, those dead eyes, those fucking
yeah, of resignation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just sick of everything.
Yeah.
Protective girls.
Yeah.
We let boys
Yeah.
to their own devices.
Yeah.
Do you think that as well, Aaron?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Of course you would, Aaron.
Can I bring in Cadence? Cadence. Do you think boys feel pressured to act in a particular way?
I think they do feel pressured. Some boys on their own are really nice to chat to, but then once they're in that particular group, they completely change and their attitude changes towards women and all. I feel like they feel pressured to do what the other boys are doing, or else they'll feel isolated from the rest of the group.
Yeah,
Shut up,
if I can ask
Cadence,
Aoife.
you silly bitch.
I mean, it's true that lads together are, you know, very anarchistic, you know, but I don't think we're doing it because we want to show off to each other or be accepted in the group. No, it's more like you know, kind of like when you get a bunch of Muslim men together and then they just, you know, get worked up into a frenzy and just rape a woman.
Yeah, start raping inanimate objects. There's no women about, like post boxes and fucking.
Yeah, there's someone parked a BMW nearby and it gets violated.
Yeah, or a bench. A poster in a shop window. Yeah, okay, we know this group behavior, but it's not restricted to boys and men. Cadence, who named it? Where's your parents? Like, what the fuck? What's the next person
Yeah,
called?
the
Linguistics.
quality of sound.
Yeah. Drumbeat. Next, like the black guy's name is fucking Drumbeat. 120 beats per second. Come in, you haven't said anything. Why are you even here? Token black guy sitting in the corner over there saying nothing. Yeah. Is there a group? Yeah, the boys act in a particular way when they're in a group. Yes. The men, yes. Do they act in a particular way when they're in particular groups? Yes. If they go to the football match, are they acting differently? Yes. If they're in the If they're at the fucking opera, yes. Oh, different. Do they act differently when they're alone? Yes. Probably because they're trying to get into your knickers. Yes, people act differently in different situations all the fucking time, as do women, and girls in groups are awful creatures.
We can't discuss that at all. No.
Yeah.
It's off the table. And we can only discuss the negative impacts of when boys are together. Not, say if there was an invading army that just landed on the shores of Galway and were on their way marching through in my direction, I would run away. But if I was around a handful of other men, then it would be a different story.
Yeah.
We would be thinking, all right, how do we get some kind of way of, we need, as blockade the roads. We need some kind of improvised weapon because our government doesn't let us defend ourselves. But we can do it, lads. Maybe we'll, raid the local army barracks, get some guns, and kill these bastards.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing about men when we're in groups.
Yeah, and we don't have the female privilege, unless we get invaded by some fucking mythical gay army from Greece. I can't bargain my fucking virginal asshole up as a part of a deal to let me live. It will just get me killed quicker. Where, females have the privilege. Oh, well, please don't kill me. Why? Suck your dick. Open my legs. There you go. Okay, we'll keep you. You can stay. And, women do that when there's an opposing army who's looking like they're going to win. They will, loyalties will switch because, again, human nature kicks in and the survival instinct. And they can do that. Men can't. All we could do would be, to fucking betray our comrades in the hope that we would win. And that's worth dying anyway. We don't have that lucky privilege. Cadence. Stupid fucking name.
Well, the privilege is that women are actually worth something. They actually have value. Men don't.
Yeah. And that's why St. Patrice always gets to mention that the value of pussy needs to be brought down. Like, it's been valued too highly over the years by men. It's a blue chip stock. And it needs the value, not the zero, but the value needs to be brought down to where it should be. And men shouldn't be celibate, but they should. There's 1,000 things worth valuing more than that. And we're getting close, thanks to fucking Elon, that we might just have a perfect android, a female android, that will satisfy that need in men. Like, okay, you're not getting pussy. Well, here, look, buy this fucking thing. Save up all your money. Don't get a car. It's like you won't be allowed to drive one in 10 to 15 years anyway. Save up all your money. Forget the house. Put it on hold. Live in the box room and save up for a perfect android. When you get horny, the android will come in and do whatever you want. You couldn't tell the difference, really. And then the value of vagina and the hold it has over men will diminish greatly, and it will be an even playing field. And and then
women will freak out and think, "Oh my God, this is terrible! How could they do this to us?"
Yeah, try have an argument with an android, bitch. See if that's as satisfying as tormenting a poor man. Like, the android will disagree with you, and I don't. Where's the fun in that?
Oh yeah. If you want to really piss a woman off, always agree with her.
Yeah, unless you're Bill Burr, because his wife will beat the shit out of him.
All right, let's get through this, because I don't like this segment of the show personally.
Where's Aoife? Yeah, Aoife. Do you think boys are feeling isolated?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time the focus is on how insecure girls can be growing up. But I think boys are just as insecure in other ways. I think they're so scared of what each other thinks, and they just kind of follow, and they're in groups, and sometimes they're nearly even afraid of being friends with girls because they're just afraid that other boys will think they like them or something. But really, it's not that deep. But to them, it just can be that deep, and they're so in their heads about it.
I see a lot.
That's a lot of projection, man. That's the way women think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how guys think.
No.
I've never once in my life, in my teenage years, thought, God, I shouldn't talk to that girl because, the other boys, they might think I'm straight.
Yeah.
They might think I have a healthy sexuality.
Yeah, it's the opposite of that. It's like, why aren't you approaching girls? What's wrong? Are you a faggot? Are you a homo? Yeah, and then, but the reason the guys won't approach the girls is because, God forbid that you're not the best looking kid in the class and you pick up the courage to approach the girls, and then the poor guy walks over, hi, would you like to be my girlfriend? And they all laugh in your fucking face in their group.
Right here, man.
Yeah, it happened. A lot of fucking guys have that, like the shame of rejection. Not only rejection and pride, but public rejection. And groups laughing at you, and then talking to everybody else, and then it's known all over the school. Give me a fucking break.
Man, I really actually fucking sabotaged myself from the very beginning, because the girl I approached was a Jehovah's Witness, and they're not allowed to date.
Go. Yeah, maybe some sort of
double trouble. She didn't like me, and her religion forbids her talking to me.
There you go. Yeah, that's why we need all Catholic schools,
All right.
People nodding their heads on that. Liam, can I ask you, and this is a big question, I suppose, but what does masculinity mean to you? What does it mean to be a man now?
Listen, I think masculinity nowadays is a subjective word. I think it's a very opinion.
First of all, I have to stop here. Do you remember in the show, right, where the lady doing the assessment of his psychology said, yeah, that's a pretty big word, isn't it? So we have to talk around it, as opposed to directly ask you about it. And this bitch is she alleges that she watched the show. So why did she ask that fucking question?
Yeah.
And now this guy's going to give this fucking limp-wristed fucking thing. This guy is an incel. He's well-groomed, but,
he's a faggot, I can tell. It's he looks like one of the Burks, the long-lost Burks.
Yeah.
His father had an affair up in Cavan. This is what happened. And there's no even glass in those glasses, there's nothing there.
Is there not? Oh my God. Yeah, they're fake glasses.
Yeah, for show, let's listen to the wisdom of a 15-year-old dope. He's been practicing his speech.
This guy's such an incel. He's going to go to, grow up, go to gay bars, and he's not even then going to be able to get laid.
Word, and I think if you asked different people, it'll mean different things. Traditionally, masculinity would mean to supply for your family, go home to your kids, bring dinner to the table, to be strong, not to show emotion. But in my opinion, I think that a man should be allowed to show his emotions, show his feelings, allowed to do what he wants to make him happy, and not have to worry about being a masculine and a stereotypical masculine person.
That Indian woman is shocked.
Do you have to be?
That Indian woman looks horrified. Go back there a minute ago.
Yeah. Yeah, she's genuinely fucking concerned.
The fuck is wrong with you? Could we expel this? Was there a time where men didn't have emotions or weren't allowed to show their emotions? Wasn't it just a case of just don't be overly fucking emotional, that you don't need to have a meltdown at the slightest minute's notice? You need to be strong in certain circumstances so people can hold shit together. Just that kind of stoic notion of, okay, just deal with the shit that you can deal with. Recognize that, life is fucking hard. But just to, be aware of that from the get-go, and then don't take it so personally. Don't dwell on it too long, and then get back up and carry fucking on instead of what?
Well,
into a manic depression for 10 fucking years. And, how are you feeling now? Are you okay now? How about now? You need another 10 years to fucking... Ugh.
Right. Have you ever heard of Karen Strahan?
The name sounds familiar. Is she the female MGTOW guy or...
guy.
Female guy.
She's much a guy. Yeah, she's very guyish. Yeah, Canadian. I would say more of a men's rights activist because she can't be a man going her own way, and she doesn't. She has had. I don't know where she is now. Had at least sympathies with the MGTOW people because she understands the struggles of men because she has children herself, and she takes exception to all of this kind of feminist shite. Now she. If memory serves, this could be somebody else, but I'm mostly certain it's Strahan who said this. It's a disservice to say that men don't have emotions or they don't show emotions. The thing is that women are arrogant to think this because men don't show their emotions in the way that women do. Now that's a severe form of narcissism. And the funny thing about narcissistic abuse, right? You would consider somebody a victim in a relationship if the narcissistic individual manages to impose their distorted reality onto their partner to the point where their partner can't help but repeat that distorted reality in contradiction of their own thoughts and feelings. So could we say that women as a collective are in a narcissistic relationship with men as a collective? Because
I have no issue with that at all.
Like they have this idea of what emotions are, and if you don't show emotions the way they experience them, the way they experience emotions, which is fundamentally different, we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Then you're not being real. You're being a toxic man who doesn't show his emotions. We do show our emotions.
Yeah, but that's what people forget. That like this whole feminist movement, it's fucking lesbians, man. Why the fuck are we letting a bunch of lesbians tell us what it is, how a man should fucking be? Like they hate men, so much so that they've abandoned men and they've decided that they've got nothing to do with them. That they just want to be around other women. But somehow that ideology has seeped into the general culture now that there's this real issue with men. There's not. Men are men, and trust me, women. If men acted like women, you would have nothing to do with them ever again. I've never seen.
That's the thing, yeah.
Women treat other people as bad as they treat other fucking women. Like they're just awful to other women. Like, and they run away from other women to be with men because there's, you don't have to be around that level of emotion where the smallest thing is a huge fucking drama. Like, women and especially girls are just known for drama. Like I see with my 15-year-old daughter, like every fucking thing between her and her friends is this huge drama. Everything's blown out of proportion. Everything's over emotional. People are crashing and burning. Like they argue incessantly. They're friends one day, the next day they're not. And it happens with guys as well, but not to any level of the same fucking frequency, Guys generally, bond through, masculine endeavors, like be it through sport or intellectual pursuits as well. But we just don't have that level of infighting that women have. And maybe it's because of a lack of a physical element to it. But I have seen women fight as well. Granted, they're an inferior species, so they don't do it as well as us males. That could be just purely down to training.
And maybe, I don't know, but what I've noticed is that a woman is more likely to sucker punch another woman rather than square up to her and start a fight that way. It's a different way of violence.
Yeah, we're just different. Like, why is that so fucking hard to accept that we're different, but not that different? And
but they do accept that we're different, but only when it's in service of demeaning men. That's the only time they notice that we're different. Yeah, it's weird, right? Funny how that works. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to say this. It's in a lot of cases, it's dangerous for men to show emotions. They should only show those emotions with, funnily enough, other men, but in a certain context. They can show their emotions to their mother, or they can show their emotions to a very, very intimate partner, a very, close woman. But in any other context, you're just asking for fucking trouble. I remember hanging out in a particularly warm summer, just chilling out with my family out the back of my aunt's house. My cousin was there in his early 20s, and his girlfriend was there too. He made the terrible mistake of showing emotion in a way of like, yes, here's what I'm feeling, not like acting out and kicking things or anything, but just bearing his soul. He just happened to do it openly in public view, and for the rest of the day his girlfriend and his mother picked on him, just teased him relentlessly for the whole fucking day, where he just kind of just went even further and further into himself. And I thought, Jesus, this is dangerous. You can't, they're like sharks in the water. Once they, detect blood, it's like, you're no longer capable of looking after us. So we need to, subjugate you.
Yeah.
It's demented.
Yeah. I've got many an argument with women. And as soon as if you start to open up and bare your soul what the actual problem is, you get beyond the anger or just share the emotion. The first thing they do is call you a pussy or a bitch. Like you fucking bitch, you pussy. It's fair enough then. Okay, well, come on over here. Come here and I'll give you a fucking good kick in the side of the head. How's that? Feel better now? Do you? You love me more? Yeah, I thought you would. You can't because it's not because you can't. It's generally because there's no fucking need. But then when they do, like you said, they suddenly discover like, I don't want this. I don't need it. But men, beyond being overly emotional, we have honesty, and honesty will often suffice for emotion. Yeah. If you want to sicken a woman, just be honest with her. And take all emotion out of it. Okay, you want to know what the problem is? Here's what the problem is, and it's like, and then generally you get an emotional reaction from the women, but that's okay, isn't it? Women's emotions are fine, aren't they? It never goes wrong when they show their emotions, and then their emotions turn to fucking violence and ranting, and then it can go to everything to fabricating massive lies against men as revenge, because the difference between men's emotions are we don't have as many, maybe, they don't last as long. But women seem to have much more emotions, and endlessly they last for fucking ever. I've seen a woman, emotions last as long as 7 years at a stretch without break. They just can't let fucking go of the emotion. So yeah, we don't need to be as emotional as women. And men often say stop being so fucking emotional. But we don't have these gigantic campaigns sponsored by the state to somehow solve the problem of overly emotional women. Let's have let's talk about fucking documentaries, or I don't even call it documentary, dramas about overly emotional women in schools. Let's play it in every classroom. Let's put it in. Let's bake it into the educational system. How do we stop women from being so overly emotional? So maybe do that. Take the focus off the guys, give them a break, and just try to make women more masculine, which you have been doing anyway for the last 20 years, but by trying to handicap boys to even the keel.
Yeah.
So how about that? Now focus on the girls. Okay, we've worked on the boys. Now it's time to focus on the girls. Okay, let's make them stop being over emotional, stop being such cunts. Toughen up, bitches. Learn to take a punch. We need a chin strengthening program in schools for girls.
Oh, Jesus. All right, let's breeze through this.
You're going to compete.
A stereotypical masculine person.
Do you have to be brave though to hold that line?
Sorry?
Would you have to be brave, like 14-year-old now or 15-year-old, to hold that line to say I'm going to be soft, I'm going to show my emotions?
I'm a faggot.
I suppose you would, because when you're younger, especially when you're a teenager, you're going, you're going through puberty and stuff, I feel that there'd be a lot more confusion.
Isn't he still going through puberty?
Yeah, this guy would be killed in my school. Like, if he went to the same school I went to school as a teenager, he would be fucking killed. He can only survive in this type of whatever school he's in. It's got to be,
Yeah,
as some sort of gay school. Plus, if you go back maybe 20 seconds, like, you can't bite your lip, and talk about masculinity in the same fucking breath. Like,
how far back?
Just before at the end of when she started speaking to him originally.
The end of
There you go. Perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck me.
Like, that's,
oh, dude, I don't. That's it. We're done. I'm not looking at that again. Oh man, that's just. Or maybe he was. Well, actually, no. That's biting your tongue. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's biting his bottom lip. Like, that's that's like stereotypical gay behavior. Like, it's just missing an ooh, misses like ooh. Ooh.
Okay, look, we need to get through this seriously.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
I suppose you would, because when you're younger, especially when you're a teenager, you're going through puberty and stuff. I feel that there'd be a lot more confusion and a lot more, you feel like you're expected more.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll bring Amy in on this one. Amy, what do you think being a man is now?
Agree with Liam with like that there's like a traditional view to it and a more modern view, and like traditionally it'd be like to be strong and to provide, but now it like means anything. And I think one thing that was brought up in the show was the 80-20 thing, that men feel like they need to be of a certain stature to attract
Let me
women.
just explain that to people, because this is in the incel world, which is a lot of the show, which is the involuntary celibate world that they talk about online. There is this idea that 80% of girls or women are attracted to just 20% of men, and that this is the unfair imbalance in this world, and this is what...
She's saying that like it's not fucking true.
I know, because that's another thing about women. They lie through their fucking teeth, even unbeknownst to themselves, because they're never truthful, or not even truthful. They're never honest or upfront. And the fact that this show is called Upfront is a mockery to begin with, because it's anything but upfront. Because if she was upfront, she'd go, yes, ask a woman what kind of man do you like, and see if you get a straight answer. If you ever want a straight answer from a woman, what you need to have a female friend who will go in there for you as a fucking spy and tell you what they actually think, because women are only truthful with other women, and they're not truthful to men under certain conditions. Some, but not how they feel about how they actually feel about men. You can only get that information through another fucking woman. And this is horseshit. Women are attracted to a particular type of men, just as men are attracted to a particular type of women. And that's just sexually, just the pure act of sex and procreation. Women will be attracted to particular fucking guys, and they can't really help it. You get it's a natural attraction, just like a guy. You're walking through the supermarket, you see a particular shape, and you're drawn to it. Doesn't mean you jump on it and fuck it, but you're naturally attracted.
Yeah, you make a note of it at the very least.
Yeah.
Oh, that's I like that.
Yeah, and if you're a young guy, you're going to be attracted to that. The hip size, the lips, the large breasts. You just can't fucking help yourself, and then it takes another maybe 20 or 30 years to develop a healthy fetish for other weird things. Or maybe that's just me. But generally, these things are generally true. And yes, that's why, men generally aren't attracted to horrible old pigs like this thing in front of us. Like, you wouldn't stop and look twice at that. You don't, because it's again, just you go, okay, well, that can't breed, obviously. Beyond that, if you got talking to her and you found her interesting, and then, there's things beyond the physical, but, we're talking about physical attractiveness, that yes, men are 20 or 80% of men, or whatever the fuck she's saying there. It's a general rule, and it's the same for women, but they always talk like men, like they're some sort of alien species. And again, this saintly womanhood, all these goddesses in the audience, would never be as shallow as that, Fuck off.
Let's hear her, right?
Develops a lot of the anger that boys are encouraged to feel against girls and women. So, yeah, you're saying that...
I don't think that's realistic. I think that's something that men will have in their head, but in the real world, when you go out, it's just not true. And I feel like
she doesn't know what the real world is. That's why she had to stop and think, oh, well, what is the real world actually?
Yeah.
And then she just continued to bullshit. And it's not an indictment of her. She's put on the spot. You can't put somebody on the spot on national fucking television and ask them a question they don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
And then expect them to say, actually, you know what? I don't know. I'm still making up my mind. You know.
It's all bollocks. Like, so she should ask a question. Okay, tell me about boy bands. Tell me about the phenomenon of boy bands, girls. What boy band do you like? Who are you attracted? Are you attracted to the ugly cunt? The guy who can't sing and can't dance and looks like a fucking Down syndrome dude. Is that the guy the boy band you're into? No. They're into.
How about the fella in the glasses there, a few seats away from you?
Yeah, would you follow him if he was in a boy band? No. So the girls they're always attracted to the handsome guy, the lead singer. But yeah, this phenomenon of boy band, you see girls losing their shit for this, these masculine guys, or maybe not even masculine, these good-looking guys who they can envision being their wife and being taken care of and living the laps of luxury and 3 or 4 kids. Then guys, do you see guys flocking to girl band concerts? No. We're simpler. We're just happy. Oh, it's got tits and a vagina. Cool. I'll have a wank to it at home. I'm not traveling 400 fucking kilometers to see some girl dance on stage for me. No.
Yeah. I think we're seeing what we're talking about in action here in the back row there, right? You've got this, what looks like maybe a Ukrainian gymnastics teacher sitting next to a school kid who looks like that guy in that old photograph of all the people, Zeke Hyling, and he's just crossing his arms like, I'm not taking part in this shit.
The low in the center.
They're mirroring each other, crossing their arms. Have you noticed that? Yeah, I think they fancy each other. I think this boy can't believe his luck that he got sat next to the PE teacher that he's been,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's desperately fighting a hard on. His leg, I think his leg is, he's slowly moving his knee over towards her thigh.
Yeah.
Hoping to get a quick rub, and that's enough. That'll do him for months.
Oh, dude, that's wrong. We just did a wrong thing.
Not at all. We're thinking like teenage boys,
Right. What did Ella say there in the chat? Don't trust anything that whinges for more than 3 days in a row and doesn't deal. Die.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
an old joke, isn't it? I used to be.
Well, it's bleed.
Bleeds,
Yeah. A woman. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But this one's a bit more, general. Can apply to men easily.
it's just something that men will think that they have to be like that to get women, but they just have to be themselves in reality.
Mairead, where's Mairead? Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree. Like, for me, in my opinion, masculinity, in general, people expect men to be less emotional, like Liam said. But for me, to be masculine is to show your emotion, because that's a sign of strength, that you don't care as much what other people think. And we see that a lot in the show.
They're just fucking parroting what they're told to think.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, these are fucking children, and we're turning to them for their opinions and advice.
Yeah, we're just getting the advice and opinion of the teacher who's been coaching them for the last 3 or 4 weeks in preparation, or maybe a week. Let's be realistic. So this has come up. They haven't just chosen a school at random. So either somebody in RTE in the production crew knows of this particular school, or one of the guests on the panel. It has to be the guest on the panel, because one of them runs programs in schools. So he most likely would have chosen the school that's most receptive to his view on what masculinity should be, and he's run a workshop in this school, probably prior to the school appearing on the show. He's
I
probably
think that may have been brought up, that there's some connection with the panelists. Yeah, we'll hear that later. By the way, I don't want to seem like, thirsty, but we are where we are, right? We're not like famous. I just want to acknowledge our first ever Kick viewer chatter. Thanks for tuning in. Glad to have you along.
Yeah, cheers, Alice. Appreciate it.
All right, let's hear this hippie out. Yeah.
Where Jamie feels very isolated even from his father, and there's not really a strong emotional bond. Where Jamie feels very isolated even from his
Just that open mouth thing. I don't know. I'm
father,
reading.
and there's not really a strong emotional bond between the two of them. It's very just fixed, and it's not very flexible for Jamie to get the help that he needs, and I find that it's quite difficult for young men to get the help that they need if they're going through mental health issues.
Yeah, and I suppose, and it's fair to say that, and this was portrayed as a very normal, kind of warm, loving family, and yet that isolation was there. Dara, what do you think about this in terms of masculinity and how boys are feeling?
Well, I believe masculinity is like a very old-fashioned word that is starting to become a bit more dated by the years go by. As when you hear the word masculinity, you think like all manly and like going home, working, and like Liam said, and just like working hard and like show no emotions. But now, like in recent years, and it's probably better like for men to like show some emotion. Like you don't always have to be like the big hard lad in the corner. And like I believe the show like perfectly shows like nearly like toxic masculinity, like how people men might become like too toxic and might become a bit misogynist to women and start like treating women with disrespect and everything.
Shut up, milk the cows, you fucking dope.
Can I ask?
Fucking Christ, like.
You know what it is. Look, obviously he's not the most academic type. He's he shouldn't really be there. But what he's doing right is he's just putting it out there for his PE teacher. Saying I'm a good guy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And what's she gonna do? Is she gonna look at him kindly? No. No, she's going home to be bed up by her Ukrainian fucking boyfriend.
Exactly. Yeah, a proper man from East Europe.
Yeah.
Because she's a proper woman.
Yeah, and who's this Liam guy? Is Liam the guy in the glasses, is it?
It was the other one that was talking about what a man he was asked what a man is, and he said, "Yeah, you just kind of go to work and you come home to the children,
stand in the corner, look all hard, there's any emotions, and just yeah, fucking hell. Can we have a celebration of masculinity, please, in like an hour on RTE once a year?
That would be nice. Please.
Yeah, something positive.
Yeah, it's how does this escape people where even they themselves have to admit that we're failing boys, but it's still boys' fault?
Yeah.
How does that work?
And you talked there about misogynistic and that toxic content and all that. There's this idea that there was this parallel universe, really. That was one of the things that came out really strongly from this series. This parallel universe on social media that young people are seeing one thing online and they're saying things to their peers and their friends, and completely different to what the parents are seeing on social media.
That's just the generation gap of every single generation since fucking blue jeans and t-shirts. What the fuck?
Yeah, because generally if your parents knew what you're up to, they'd fucking eat you out because
yeah,
it's like what are you talking? Oh, what does that yellow emoji mean? Oh, it means I'm horny. What? What do you mean? You're 13. What do you mean you're fucking horny? Yeah, because parents are protective. And one of those masculine traits, not just masculine, but is to protect your children. And you can overdo it, and where you become overly protective, almost motherly, and you protect them too much, and then you leave them helpless as fucking adults. And it's like, yeah, but that's okay because you'll be dead, and they don't you won't have to deal with the fallout when you leave them fucking alone and crippled. You know.
Yeah,
Listen, mother,
yeah.
hello. I know you can hear me
maybe
down there.
Danielle, is that the case? Is there this kind of almost secret world in social media that adults are not privy to?
Yeah, I feel like there is because
Stop it
like
there. You can't feel
I
like
was-
there fucking is, Danielle. How would you know about it? Like, you only know about it if you're there. I feel like there is this secret online world of Dungeons and Dragons where boys are secretly talking about stabbing girls.
Whatever. I'm wondering, why do all these girls have fucking piercings and shit? Like, they all have pierced ears.
That's not always been the case forever. Like,
not me growing up, anyway.
Yeah, I always remember girls having pierced.
Well, I guess in school is really my only context for girls my age as a teenager. So, but then again, I don't know. Out in the street, I didn't exactly see piercings a lot. It was only like into the 20s I started to see my female friends with piercings.
I don't know. I think in school, a lot of schools wouldn't allow piercings even for girls, like no jewelry, no piercings. So maybe it's only noticeable here because it's outside of school. So, but generally as a teenager, yeah, I remember girls having earrings and they wear jewelry and they dress up because, they for each other apparently, and that's why women do it as well. Like they look, attractive for each other, not to attract males because. God forbid, they're trying to attract male attention. But yeah, the earring thing, I always noticed. Most girls had earrings.
Okay.
Maybe it's where I grew up in fucking
It
Knackerland.
could be, yeah. Microcultures in Ireland.
Yeah.
Can we move on to the fun stuff now?
Yeah, come on. Yeah, we've done
all
all
right.
that shit.
Okay. Yeah, because yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I'm going to need to take a break in a minute. My ears are fucking suffering horribly. I need these cheap earphones as well.
Oh, okay.
I want to go to my panel now, and I'll go to you first, Joe Neville, because you raised this in the Dáil this week, or last week.
Yeah.
You were talking about the toxic social media influencers. You said the glorification of dominance, aggression and subjugation of women through social media must be ended. Was it seeing Adolescence that prompted this?
I suppose, I just to start off, I have a 13-year-old boy. I suppose I coach under 14, under 15-year-olds. In fairness, I've seen a lot of positivity, a lot of great lads. You see a lot of great behaviours among young boys. And in fairness, there's a lot
How
of
about
really
you talk
positive
about that then, you cunt? Fucking hell.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's this imaginary fucking boogeyman. Yeah. Right. If you want to see more of something, then, praise those things in those people, and then you'll elevate those behaviors in social fucking demand, and you'll see more of those behaviors. But no, let's just talk about what's on the internet.
Let's talk about what's popular, you cynical cunt. So you can progress your career in politics and appear on Upfront.
There you go.
A lot of great lads. You see a lot of great behaviours among young boys. And in fairness, there's a lot of really positive role models. There is that. And I've been on the board of management of school for 10 years too. So I've seen how these issues, I've seen the best of boys. But also, like, there is a subsection on the internet, where there is negative influences, and obviously that was shown through the TV show. And, as we've heard a number of the members of the audience, and obviously from the school, Doonary coming here, they've said that they can recognise that world. And I say for myself, where I saw it really, I suppose it hit me, was actually as a parent, because I was going, they know about it, but I'm not sure that we knew about it, and the insights that I would have had. And I think not just the pressures, because you might think about the pressures, but those things, and I think it was actually really drawn to the two main male characters, obviously the two parents, as you would, two intelligent people, really hard working, all for their families. The detective inspector, obviously very successful, man, knew his stuff, but ultimately he was clueless in the school, and his 15-year-old son had to kind of go, Dad, You don't know at all which. And I think
You're
that was-
embarrassing yourself, was what he was saying.
That
yeah.
was a real point. A really able guy just was at sea in that world.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up. So he got completely, again, another gobshite who got sucked in, saw himself as the main fucking character, as the father or the successful. Oh, that's me. That successful guy on the telly, that's me. And I don't really know what my kid's doing because most of my time is spent with other fucking children away from the school and my 18 fucking jobs in the dole. I'm on the committee. I'm on the committee that looks after the committee. What else is he doing? Volunteering for the local football team. Anything but spend time with his own fucking child. So of course he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, there's the toxic masculinity you're looking for. Avoiding your fucking children. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is where it gets really juicy.
Protection of those who are less able to defend themselves. I think that's the
Does that
central
not imply
element.
that women are weaker and need protection?
No, I don't think so. I think that, you know, we have always expected historically that if a war needs to be fought, for example, men would rather die than see their wives or their daughters blown to pieces on a battlefield. If a burglar breaks in, most men and women would expect the man to get the baseball bat and go and deal with that. I think that's pretty standard, and I think the vast majority of people on Earth would agree with that assessment.
Okay. Owen Cleary, would you agree with that assessment?
No. I grew up.
Hand on the heart. Here we go.
It's
Hell straight
fucking
away, like.
glorious, dude. This is glorious. You're going to fucking die, man.
No. I grew up thinking it. I grew up that thinking that my job was to provide and to protect. But I have, like so many of the young people express so eloquently, I have learned that isn't what masculinity is to me anymore. I don't want my role in society to be one where I need to provide for the women in my life. I want my masculinity to be something that contributes to society, to make sure that women can provide for themselves as equally as I can, and that they can provide for me, ideally. They can provide for me, ideally.
You dirty pimp.
Wow.
Yeah, string of bitches bringing money in for you, do you? You degenerate. Look at this cunt. Like, if ever there's a red flag. Listen, if there's any women listening and a guy that looks like this approaches you, run 100 fucking miles away from him. What a creepy fucking dude. Yeah, look at Ben looking at him. Ben wants to kill him.
Oh, Scanlon really performed well in this show.
Yeah.
As equally
good man,
as I can, and that they can provide for me, ideally. They can provide for me, ideally. And I don't want to be called on to protect women in my life. I want to do everything I possibly can as a man to make sure that we live.
Can you fucking believe it? Oh, God. This guy was publicly embarrassed on national television, man.
All in his own hands. Brilliant.
In my life, I want to do everything I possibly can as a man to make sure that we live in a society that women don't have to be protected in the first place. That's where we should be putting our masculine energies.
What about this debate around the fact that, a point I have heard made, that telling boys that they must be kind and sensitive and show their emotion now is confusing to them because, you know, that it was easier in the old days where you were strong and tough, you were the provider and you knew where your place was. But now it's confusing for people.
I've worked with young men and young women for my entire life, from the age of with young men from the age of 4 to the age of 18. Young men are kind and they are sensitive. They are some of the most kind and sensitive people I've ever had the privilege of working with. You create a space where a young man feels safe to be kind and sensitive.
Who's that monster in the background?
Which one?
Look at the monster. There's a fucking some creature in the background. So if you
this guy,
yeah, look at that.
Wow.
You see filling up the special needs quota. Is that
They're not confused about being kind and being kind and sensitive. They are being confused by the influencers or by wider society that's telling them that part of being
they're
a man
being
is to be
confused
cruel
by
and not to
you.
feel anything. And if you do feel something, to repress it and not express it.
And is that what you obviously were talking about adolescence? I mean, that was a theme that was running through that programme.
Absolutely. I think it was so clear that Jamie was so lost in what it was to be a man. And the clip that you played, like, he is so aggressive in it, and obviously there is anger there, but he is trying that on because it's what he's seen as being part of a man. And we see for the majority of the show that that's not what's in him. That's not who he is. He isn't the monster that he tries to be in those moments where he's trying to dominate that psychotherapist.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, you know, you're not the only one that thinks that this guy is pathetic. Because right after this, she turns to, the host turns to the mother right next to her.
Jen Hogan,
Oh, for fuck's sake, man, what the fuck is wrong with the audio in this?
Jen Hogan.
Yeah, see my shitty editing skills.
Jen.
Yeah, kurva.
Don't worry about it. Just play it. You're fine.
No. Nope. Not doing that. Gonna reload it.
Well, is there a problem with the player, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. But sometimes it plays the audio, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. So here we go. Hopefully it works.
Jen Hogan, I said there at
You
the
see
outset,
that little laugh?
you have 6
And the look down.
boys, 6 lads.
Oh, Jesus, would you fucking behave? Right.
Jen Hogan, I said there at the outset.
She couldn't contain her fucking laughter, man. She thought this guy is so fucking pathetic. But I like what this mother has to say.
You have 6 boys,
6 lads,
and 1 girl.
Yeah.
What did you take away from this programme?
I think, I mean, one of the things that I saw, I suppose, if you look at Jamie at the beginning, and again, knowing it's a work of fiction, but I thought it was a really good representation of a vulnerable boy. I mean, when they broke through the door, the police came in through the door, even him being that distressed that he wet himself and him being that scared. And then later in the show, talking about feeling like he let his dad down because he wasn't doing well at football. And then obviously turning to the anger later on. I think it showed that boys are these complicated and complex beings, just like girls are, with all these emotions, but they don't necessarily know how to navigate them because we haven't really encouraged boys to navigate them. And you said there about we encourage them to be kind, and that's confusing them to them. I mean, boys are essentially kind, and I think we have a very narrow view of boys still. I think societal expectations of boys haven't really changed, not in the way we'd like them to, or certainly not at the speed and depth we'd like them to. You know, we absolutely rightly encourage our girls to venture into things that before we thought were only for boys, you know, and they should behave a certain way and they should only have certain interests. I don't know that we've done that to this as effectively with boys. Sorry, we've done it with girls, but we haven't as effectively done it with boys.
Well, what are you planning here? Like, what the fuck are you planning here? What do you have to effectively hope to do with boys? Make them more feminine, is it? Is that what it fucking is? Like, so we've encouraged girls to be, you know, more masculine over the years, and now it's like, okay, well, it's time to fag up the boys. Let's encourage them to be more like girls, shall we? Haven't we gone far enough with that shit? Hasn't societies like Sweden proved it to you that the more you interfere, the less effective it actually fucking is? That, you know, there's inbuilt preferences between males and females. Well, okay, well, let's move the boys into nursing, is it? Oh my God, like, I fucking hate these people. I swear to God.
Yeah, do you know who also hates these people? This guy in the jersey on the right-hand side, or the left-hand side, rather.
Yeah, look at him cocking the gun.
Yeah, and squinting the eyes, like,
yeah,
what the fuck are these people on
that's
about?
me, isn't it? Like an old fucking grumpy cunt at the back of the audience. Yeah, he should stand up. Like, we need to get tickets for these shows, like, and just fucking. Oh, they don't go out live. Does this go out live? Does it?
No,
it wouldn't, would it?
No, it wouldn't. No,
yeah.
People might say something interesting.
So we need to work on boys. We need to work on boys quicker and at greater depth. Apparently, to what? Does she say what it is? Or with her fucking gigantic witch-like nose? Ugly
I mean,
people.
like,
We're ugly fucking people.
generally, right? She's right that, yeah, we've kind of left boys behind in the conversation.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to help the boys. She wants to, what she's saying is, oh, well, we focused on girls, making girls more, masculine, like moving them into fucking focusing everything on the girls. Let's shift the whole education system to focus on the girls so we can make them more like boys. But now they're saying, but it's good enough for the girls to be like boys, but boys can't be like boys. So let's make boys like fucking girls. It's madness. It's like, okay, well, let's see, what are girls missing in their life? Oh, well, boys have it all. So let's, encourage girls to express the traits that boys naturally have, but we hate the fact that boys have those traits. Give me a fucking break. How does that make sense? It's like, okay, let's take all these aspects from male. What are they giving them? Like, is it only the non-toxic masculinity that they're asking the girls to encourage? No, it's that thing, be braver, be more assertive, like the boys. And then to the boys, just saying, don't be assertive, don't be aggressive, don't do what you fucking will help you out in the future. But let the girls do it. So now it's with the boys. It's like, okay, well, be more like the girls, be more emotional, be more sensitive, be more timid.
Well, maybe I'm a little too generous to her, but like when you think about it, like that has already been done to the boys. So she's obviously talking about something else.
No, she wants to double down on it because it's not fucking being done enough. So I don't know what it's going to say, but that's the impression I'm getting, is that we've worked on the girls, we focused on the girls. So it's not like they've been focused on the girls saying, listen, girls, be more feminine. That hasn't been the messaging for the last 20 years. It's all being focused on be more masculine, girls, be more aggressive, get the positions, go after the high positions, go after positions in power, don't have children, focus on career, earn for yourself, be the leaders, lead. And what if they've been working on men in the preceding years? It's like, okay, well, it's like, well, fuck you guys, like, you've had everything anyway, so why should we even focus on you? But the only focus has been about attacking masculinity as it applies to men. Stop being so aggressive, give up your positions, feel guilty about your innate fucking being, stop striving. That's what the messaging's being. And if she is saying, okay, well, let's focus on men and let's acknowledge the wonders of masculinity, well, then happy days. But I doubt it's that. I would imagine the frame's going to be, okay, well, that's because they're talking about basically how closed off men are, how, unemotionally available they are to people, how all this toxic masculinity. So they want to continue. The work on the toxic masculinity hasn't been enough. So what we need to do is double down on the toxic masculinity and eliminate it altogether.
That's very likely. Yeah, that's very likely. But we have another 3 minutes to listen to her.
That'll be right.
I drifted off there in the middle while you were talking because I was actually looking at this gay kid's left hand. See that? Bracelets, 3 rings on a finger each.
Yeah, he gay.
Yeah. And you know what? You don't belong in this conversation. I'm not saying that gay men don't have a part in masculinity. They absolutely do. They express it a bit differently, but they express it all the same. However, when it comes to men's relationship with women, you don't get a say because you're gay.
Yeah.
That's the way this works, right? I don't know. Let's listen to the columnist.
Their career and what their life goals should be and the sort of people that they should be. And Jamie showed in that he is just as vulnerable as a 13-year-old girl might be. Only we didn't really, his upset and his distress was quite distressing to us to watch because he was a boy, and boys aren't supposed to cry, and boys aren't supposed to get upset. Boys are supposed to get angry, so we were not okay with that. Nobody wants to see him get angry with the psychologist, but there was that expectation that he would. we haven't moved on from that, but seeing that and seeing how his parents reacted to it, and even his dad at the end saying, you know, about how he should have done better. I suppose there was that recognition, and maybe that's why people have related to it so much. It reminds.
Yeah, there was this very emotional scene between the parents at in the final episode, where, you know, the aftermath episode, basically, where they just both broke down after a particularly tough day dealing with you know, the public treating them like shit because of who they are. And they, you know, the father said, "Yeah, maybe I could have done better." And then she said, "Oh, I could have done better," you know, and it was very gripping.
So how we should be
as a
reacting
parent
to our
of boys and a girl, who do you worry most about?
Yeah, I found that's the harder, because you have very natural worries with your girl, the same worries that you relate to as a woman, the same sort of things that you had when you were a young woman, when you were a teenager, even as a woman now. You understand the worries and you understand the risks to girls in the world, the risks that shouldn't be there and that are there, and the fears that we have, and a lot of them are because of men, and there is you get that. But I worry a huge amount about my boys too, obviously because of the potential danger that they could get into when they're out, but also this constant influx of toxic messaging that's coming at them from different influencers, from society, because boys don't necessarily talk as much. They're not encouraged yet to speak as openly. We say we celebrate certain things about boys, but we don't. We still keep them in a very narrow box of how they should be. And we know they're more than that, and we know they're capable of so much more than we accept from boys in society. And I think as a society,
spit it fucking out, woman. Jesus
negative
Christ.
towards boys.
What the fuck is wrong with people? Like, what is it? Say it!
Well, look, you know, she's not a speaker. She's a columnist. She writes, and then what she writes goes to an editor, and the editor makes it sound coherent.
But yeah, but as a fucking human, like, I'm sick of this nonsense of, like, you know, be more. They could be more than they currently are. What it is that they are, we don't know. But what it is they could be, we don't know. So it's
possible that she doesn't know, and I think that, you know, that she's kind of admitting that.
But
I think she's probably the most honest woman in that room right now, where she's saying, yeah, we kind of expect shitty behavior from boys, but maybe it's because we don't understand them. That's what I'm hearing from her. So I'm,
but you know who does understand?
Generous.
Do you know who does understand boys? Men! Because, you know, because we've been there. So, you know, women have no fucking business trying to figure out what men is, because you don't know, you can't know, and you never will know. All you know is out to be as a woman.
Yeah, well, you know, they can't ask men that. I mean, they can, but, you know, it's not going to be taken as seriously as the opinion of a woman. And that's the context that this is happening in, you know?
This needs to change. Like, this needs to fucking change drastically. Like, so you need someone on there to just fucking say it as it is. Like, what are you talking about, you silly cunt? You know, how can you know what it is to be? I mean, you're a mother. So you know what it is to be a mother, but you will never know what it is to be a man, just as I will ever know what it is to be a woman. And the only way we can get around that is by actually speaking honestly about what it is, the experience it is of being a man. And let me tell you what it's like to be a man at the moment. We're sick of you bitches talking shit and saying nothing and telling us what we should and shouldn't fucking be. If it wasn't for us, you'd be living in this imaginary place where you can't fucking go out because you're getting raped left, right, and center. We're currently trying to prevent that from happening again by importing fucking people from 160 AD who will happily put you in a fucking cloak and hide you and beat you, and they worship a fucking pedophile. It's like, but oh no, that's mean. Don't say that. That's mean. Let's talk about it. Let's teach our boys to express their emotions like this fucking guy.
Well, look, let's listen to what a real man has to say about being a man.
Ben Scallon, the Dáil was told last week that toxic social media influencers are feeding young men a warped view of what it means to be a man.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do. Yeah, I think so. I think that masculinity in a nutshell has always been about men using their strength to protect the vulnerable and the weak. I think that's central to what it means to be a man, and we see that in things like the Titanic, when men would give up their seat on the lifeboat to protect women and children that they didn't even know, or men giving up their seat on the bus. You know, that's a small thing, but it's a thing that men used to do very regularly, and it was kind of expected that women and children were in the care of men in the sense that men should be willing to sacrifice for the betterment of those who are more vulnerable than themselves. And I think that what we have today is people who want to pit the sexes against each other on both sides, which is not healthy for anybody involved. I think it's extremely negative to act like men and women are in competition with one another, or like in order for men to succeed, women have to fail, or vice versa.
You think that society doesn't have a toxic masculinity problem, it has a toxic lack of masculinity problem?
Yeah, absolutely.
Explain that.
As I just said, I think that it comes down fundamentally to men, in either men feeling like they have to dominate women in order to further their own position in life, or conversely, men feeling like they have to shrink away from public life, or having men being the cause of all wrong in the world, being blamed and tarred with a broad brush. Like, we're here talking about this documentary, which of course was fictitious. It's a drama. It was very good drama. I enjoyed it, but I think whatever about the surrounding issues about social media and pornography and things like that, I don't think most men, particularly young boys, have ever even considered murdering somebody. This is a work of fiction, and so we're taking a...
Jesus. Isn't it incredible that all these adults need to be reminded, that thing we watch, that was made up. Someone thought of all of those things and wrote them down and had other people say them out loud.
Yeah, let's hope they never watch a Marvel fucking movie. Oh my God, there's flying creatures from different planets.
Yeah, there's these giant machines. They're coming to kill us.
Oh, Lord, fucking mercy. Oh, thank God, Ben. I think I'll grow a beard in your honor.
I don't think you can. I don't think I can either.
No.
That's an incredible fucking beard. Ow, my ass.
Fictitious representation of the most extreme example of how somebody could go off the rails, and trying to apply that to 50% of the population. I don't know that that's necessarily a good way to go about it.
So you think there's a bit of a moral panic around this?
No, I wouldn't say that. I just think that when the Taoiseach, Simon Harris, says things like we should be making this compulsory viewing for all children in schools, I don't object to children watching it. I mean, it's again, as I say, I thought it was good. I thought it was compelling. It was a strong piece of media. But there's almost an insinuation in that all young boys are at risk of becoming an incel murderer, and I don't think there's any evidence for that whatsoever.
Can I ask you the question I was asking some of our students?
Oh, we got
there?
one round of applause. That you, was it?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, all right.
Because it would be illegal. Yeah, they'd have to shut everything down and start scanning all over again. Yeah.
Now, what does it mean to you? How would you define it?
As I say at the outset, I think self-sacrificial protection of those who are less able to defend themselves. I think that's the central
not imply
element.
That women are weaker and need protection?
No, I don't think so. I think that we have always expected historically that if a war needs to be fought, for example, men would rather die than see their wives or their daughters.
Okay, we heard that part already. Let's get into the debate, huh? This is juicy. I like it. Wait, what? Oh, there it is. What's going on here?
Actually, give me 2 minutes, will you? Or
yeah. You go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Take your break. Yep. It's hard going when you don't have the right headphones for your particular ears. Yeah. Especially when you do a show our length. We're coming up on 5.25 hours. We go long, guys. 7 hours sometimes. Sometimes even creeping up to 8. I call it the casino standard. Big fan of Kino Casino, and those guys go long, man. and it's just shit. I live in Ireland, and that means I have to go to bed usually by the time that those guys go live. And I love the Kino Casino clip channel, but they don't release nearly as many clips as I would like. So I feel like I'm losing out. And yeah, Kino Casino. That's where I get my news. I don't really read the news anymore. I just go to the guys. Yeah, I'll look at Twitter to find out what in Ireland specifically we should be looking at every Friday for the show. But other than that, I'm just yeah, I don't care anymore. Things are too loaded, too convoluted, too agenda driven. I would rather watch a comedy show about whatever the latest freak is, or even what Donald Trump might be doing. Whatever seeps through into the popular culture. Back in the day, early 2000s, there was a panic going on where people were reporting in polls that their sources of news were things like what was it, The Daily Show with John, what's his name, and people were freaking out, like, why aren't people watching the news anymore? This is weird, it's we're going backwards. But I really don't think so. I'm not saying that comedians will never have an agenda, but they're more likely to be honest and upfront about things, give their straight up honest opinions, while the news media every single year it becomes more and more blatant that they do have an agenda. Whatever side of the aisle it happens to be on, there's a reason why we're hearing what we're hearing. And a lot of it has to do with games that we're just not involved in. The manipulation of public discourse and opinion to wrangle certain political outcomes, certain international geopolitical outcomes. We live in a very complicated time. It wasn't like when I was a kid growing up, or older people than me, where, it was just the news that came on at 6 p.m. And of course, the midday news, which most people were too busy with their lives to watch. There was once upon a time where the BBC came on for the evening news, and they said, yeah, we have nothing to tell you, so we're just going to play this music because there's no news today. I was just talking off the dome there. You feeling better?
Yeah, a little bit of food and a cup of tea, and my ears can fucking have blood back in them now. I'm going to end up with cauliflower ears like a rugby player eventually. Okay, so where were we? We had Ben making sense. Jesus Christ, like what a silly show.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening that they're not from Ireland, this is what the level of shit we have to put up with, and this is why very few of us with any real sense watch television anymore.
Yeah, at least not the national broadcaster. Yeah,
but I'm sure it's the same in your country, wherever you're from, if you are listening outside of Ireland. But yeah, I just feel we're particularly cursed because half the world seems to be getting beyond this horseshit, where we're just doubling down as the last bastion of horseshit island.
Yeah, us in the UK. Yeah,
brothers in arms, huh? Fucking hell.
Ben, you were nodding there when we were talking about boys being vilified and the negative messaging.
Yeah, I think that, part of this is the insinuation that there is a widespread problem, and it's only a male problem, that is creating some kind of difficulty between the sexes. But we saw, and I mean, as we keep saying, it is a fictitious piece of art, but even within the confines of this fictional story, there was a lot of toxicity to go around. Obviously, what he did was reprehensible, killing somebody. There's no excuse for that. There was bullying, him being bullied, him being publicly humiliated, people making fun of him and brutally rejecting him in front of his peers. That doesn't mitigate what he did in any way, shape, or form. But it is just to say that I think there's a real empathy problem, and there's a difficulty that goes both ways, where male-female relations are pretty rough at the minute for young people in general. And I think when we try to pin it on one half of the human race and say this is a male problem and men need to do better and so on, I don't know that that's necessarily the most constructive way to go about it.
But isn't that what we're saying the toxic influencers are doing? They're encouraging boys to blame girls for their problems.
Absolutely, I agree with that. That's what I'm saying is I think it's wrong for them to blame girls for boys' problems, and I think it's wrong for society and the media and politicians to blame boys for the issues that we have as well. I think both are equally disruptive and destructive to male-female relations.
Owen, all of this has been linked to some very worrying increases in violent and sexual crime among teenagers.
Yeah. Can I just say in response
sure.
to what Ben was talking about, I think it's really important to say that boys are not toxic, men are not toxic, and it is a societal problem. But women have been doing their part in this for decades and decades, and all we're asking for now is for a space for boys.
You're a woman, are you?
Created.
He's just put himself in with the women, did he? All we're asking for now.
Oh, right, yeah.
Look at that. Kill him, Ben. Kill him. Come on, Ben. Let the
problem. But women have been doing their part in this for decades and decades, and all we're asking for now is for a space for boys and men to be created so that we feel empowered and given the permission to take ownership of our part that we do play in it, which we haven't taken ownership of yet.
Like what part do you play as a man in women being attacked? You have obviously never attacked anybody. I've never attacked anybody. Why should we hold culpability?
That's very generous of Ben to assume that he never attacked a woman.
Yeah, I'd say he's attacked a few.
Yeah, like it's the weak man, like Owen, the enfeebled and inmasculine. Is that a word?
It should be if it's not.
Yeah, but that's the man that takes advantage of women sexually when they're incapacitated or that they can somehow intimidate them. I don't know how Owen could intimidate a woman. But, it's also the type of man that would just actually, lose control of himself and punch an intimate partner.
Yeah, he's almost reptilian-like in a non-threatening way, like that slithering venomous snake. Or no, it's more like a parasite, isn't it? Like a worm, a parasitic worm who just wriggles his way into people's minds and takes over. It's disgusting.
Buddy, I've never attacked anybody. Why should we hold culpability because of our immutable characteristics like our sex? That it'd be unfair to blame all women for the actions of one woman. Why would it be fair to?
But I don't think anybody has blamed all men for the actions of
No, but I mean, we're talking about the role that men play in these things. It's a very, very small subset of men.
I'm sorry, bitch. Was I talking to you? It's a particularly feminine trait to interrupt when you're not being fucking spoken to.
She needs to constantly reinforce this thing that we're not attacking men. We're not attacking. Men. She already did it prior when he was speaking. Oh, but like we're not saying it's men, but we are saying it's men because you're blaming women now. So I need to reinforce that men are bad. And now she's, at it again.
In these things, it's a very, very small subset of men who are the issue here. That's the only point I'm making.
Owen, respond.
Yeah, I mean, we are all responsible for the society that we create. And we, as a teacher, as a male.
This is an example of, being put on the spot and, not being able to say, actually, you know what, I need to think about what you just said.
Yeah.
You can't say that on TV.
But you should, though. That's what we're missing on television. It's just an honest fucking debate. Like, do away with the whole pretense of fucking college debating, which is what that's what passes for, discussion in Ireland. Is this fucking college, or not even college, like primary school debating society? Like, it's evident here. It's the same as the Dáil. It's just weak, pissy sophistry, or an attempt at sophistry. And this guy, all he has to say was, well, like you said, let me think about it. I'm not prepared. But he can't, because that's his career over. He's done for. Like, nobody wants to listen again. Or just say, well, actually, yeah, you're right. Just be honest about it. But this nonsense about, well, everything in society is my fault because I'm part of society. Shut up. Go back and do a fucking basic logic lesson. Or then kill yourself. If that's the case, you're responsible for the mass. You're responsible for all those poor people in Palestine and Yemen, everyone who's ever died, who's ever been the victim of a crime. That's your fault, because you're part of the society that happened in. So kill yourself. Do us all a favor, or present yourself to the local guard station and tell them it's you who's responsible for all those rapes in the last decade. Like, come on, hand yourself in if you're so fucking morally pure.
Yeah. Well, also, if he's really going to play this card of like, oh, we're all responsible in this society, then, how come we're continuously shouting down Ben Scanlon when he's suggesting that, hey, maybe women have some responsibility too, if we're going to be assigning fucking blame and responsibility, but no.
Yeah, you can't go on television and make this fucking philosophical argument like, well, yeah, as a society, we are, we do have a shared responsibility to make sure it's a better place for everybody. But then you can't present it literally in the next breath that, oh, men are the problem. It doesn't fucking
No, it doesn't match up. No. And, I want to point out, look at that biro in his hand. Like, he's not writing anything down.
Yeah.
That's his little safety device. That's his blankie, He's holding on for dear life with that little biro. And I can hold this up between me and Ben and it'll be okay because he can't get past my biro.
His sword.
His little tiny sword.
The pen is mightier than the sword.
Oh, Jesus.
Teacher, as a grown adult man, it is my responsibility to take ownership for what we need to take ownership of men in the world. Like, I don't know why men are happy to sit back and allow Ireland to be a society where women are being raped and women are being murdered by
Yeah, good fucking point, man. Good fucking point.
Yeah, stop the influx of refugees. That would help.
Like, it's amazing. These people don't hear themselves talk.
I know.
Jesus.
And that is our responsibility.
Is anybody sitting back and allowing that?
And women.
Who's sitting back and allowing that? I mean, the fact that we have a criminal justice system, the fact that there are people who are campaigning and saying that there needs to be more aggressive sentencing, particularly for sex crimes. We constantly see heinous, crimes being met with fully suspended sentences in the courts, which is an outrage. And there have been people such as myself who've been banging on about that for years.
But this is
I don't think anybody's just sitting back and allowing these things to happen, or they shouldn't be at the very least.
This is not going to be a situation that is policed away. The answer to this problem is prevention. And prevention
it's genocide.
Must focus
you get to the point of it. The
safe...
answer to this is to kill every male-born child in the land, so we don't have to ever contend with the rape of a woman by a male.
Or it's Brave New World style reconditioning of all of society by conditioning children from the start. Like, full control. We can't leave it up to the parents. We have to, make this into an institution where, we treat men to behave and just go along for the ride.
Yeah.
We have a few more seconds on
Days for our boys who are so eloquent and spoke tonight about how they feel about growing up in the world. They're the ones that need to be given the space to take ownership of this issue with their female counterparts, so that as a society we can all own it.
Oh, fucking throw your glass at him, Ben, or something. Fucking headbutt him. Anything like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's rough.
And this guy, what's his name? Because he goes around school to school. That's his gig, isn't it? He's going around all the schools in Ireland preaching this horseshit, indoctrinating children. Because I know he's a teacher. God help the poor students that he fucking teaches. But he's a teacher, and I think he has an NGO of some description as well.
Oh, yay.
Anyway, that's not. So are we done with that? Is that? Or is there more?
That's all we have for up front.
Okay, well, I have a little piece. So this was an RTE news piece just to fucking torture us some more.
Oh, okay.
So I'll cue this up. Actually, I had it queued up. Let me share the screen. So I think this is RTE news. Let me see. Sure.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll have a listen.
Politicians and online safety campaigners have been calling for stronger online regulations, guidelines and support for children and parents arising from the impact of the new Netflix drama series Adolescence. The drama tells the
Jesus Christ, like, you'd think 1 million fucking people have just died.
Yeah, wait, we need to do something because to fight the TV show.
Yeah.
The thing that happened in the TV show. Like, have we all lost our fucking minds?
Yeah. Do you remember when those 3 children were stabbed in Dublin? Do you remember this happening? No. Let's not talk about it. Didn't happen. Let's pretend it was okay. He was white. Was he white? Please say he was white. No, none of this level of fucking hysteria. So what do we need? Stronger controls on social media. Kill the narrative. How about not taking drama fucking seriously and just treat them as that, like something that, oh, did you watch that thing tonight? Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Yeah, it was actually better than I thought it would be. Okay. Next on the agenda. I can't remember a time in history where a television program has been pushed so hard that every secondary school child on 2 islands should be forced to watch it. It's great for fucking Netflix, like getting those subscribers in early, and a follow-up to follow as well, as follow-ups generally do follow.
harrowing story of a 13-year-old boy accused of killing a girl in his class. The story reveals that he had been exposed to toxic online material.
This morning, Minister for Education
This
Helen
is
McEntee
incredible.
joined the
I know. Toxic
This is
online material. That's what it will be. Like, it's a pandemic. Like, toxic online material has been spotted online.
It's incredible how Ben Scanlon had to reiterate like 5 times. This was a TV show. This wasn't real. Go on.
So this is the main nightly news. Now, just remember that. This is the main nightly news. And like, the news will very rarely dedicate, more than 3 minutes to a main item, like, which would normally be, an earthquake or something like that.
Yeah.
This gets a full 6.5 minutes.
Fuck off.
For
That's
a
insane.
fucking TV show. And people wonder why they think the news is propaganda.
ranks of politicians.
You know what we need, right? We need to hijack the feed of RT News, right? Where it, like, we hijack it and it we transmit this like hypersonic kind of sound that makes everyone who's watching its heads explode like scanners. and then the problem's solved.
Yeah, you don't know how many times I've had similar fantasies. I've played the role of Roddy Piper and They Live 1,000 times through
Oh
my
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've actually been in RTE with the cameras, and thinking, should I bring a hacksaw with me and just fucking put the tower down?
Speaking about issues raised by the Netflix drama Adolescence.
So much of that programme, Adolescence, focuses on what's happening on our phones. You know, we can say we'll ban them. Children shouldn't have access to social media. I'm not sure that's the right approach. But in the school setting, which is what I'm responsible for, where children should be learning, where they should be focused, where they should be engaging with each other, I do think removing phones at that instance is the right thing to do.
But
okay, we can agree with that. Kids shouldn't have phones in the classroom because it's a distraction.
Yep.
And I'll make that pact with you as long as you give me a CCTV feed with sound to the classroom that I can access as a parent at all times, so I know what the fuck is happening in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not too difficult for to make a rule like many schools do. Okay, there's no schools in class, and if the children are caught in school with the phone, well, then it's confiscated, and that's it. We don't need government intervention.
No.
At this level, like to address the problem of phones in schools. Like, what are we going to do? How can the children ever manage? Like, we have this competing propaganda that we're not up to speed on. We've relied on television, newspaper, and radio for the last couple of decades, and we just haven't got full control of this new medium. So we need help, and we need to shut it down and take it away from the plebs, because it's ruining everything for us and making it so difficult for us to spin our normal horseshit.
what is it about the tough issues in this series that has caught so many viewers' attention?
What have you done?
There is a growing call for two steps, for government to step in and for parents to become more involved.
One, government first, huh?
Government. That's the fucking response to everything. Government. What's the government going to do? The government needs to do something. The government. Fuck you and your fucking government.
Yeah.
These guys who fucking prove themselves day in, day out to be, at best, fucking murderously incompetent. You want those guys to do something. My God, man.
What will they do? Introduce some new legislation? Another new law? How many laws have we had in the last 20 years? Do you know? You just take a guess.
Like up around 300,000.
So it's less than that. 17,000. Which is ridiculous in and of itself.
It really is.
It only seems low because because we know how bad it is. That 300,000 would be, a respectable guess, because it's that fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
17,000 laws in the last 20 years. Like
statutory instruments, which I never heard before until COVID, when they pulled that one out of their holes to basically lock down society without any kind of discussion in the House of our legislature.
Yeah, that's how bad things are. Like, we'll just call it an instrument. People like instruments, don't they? The plebs like drums and stuff. I can understand that. It's not a law. It's a statutory instrument, because we changed the name. So everything is okay, because you're all too fucking stupid to realize what's going on.
Is a regulatory perspective at making laws that force social media companies to introduce ironclad rules to stop kids going online. And the other way is to persuade parents not to let their kids online.
It will impact maybe in relation to online bullying, any inappropriate photographs being shared online. Did
they just flash the rainbow flag in their little graphic there?
I don't know. No, it's just several colors next to each other aren't always fucking rainbows, man.
They're always rainbows. We're now watching this is Stanley Kubrick's work here. There's an embedded message in there.
Any inappropriate photographs being shared online, and just generally bad behaviour online, and it'll come back into the school, and when it all kicks off.
Oh God, that's the problem with the world, isn't it? It's just online because of the internet. Like the internet's responsible for fucking everything. Everything bad. It couldn't be that they just want to control all information everywhere all the fucking time. No, couldn't be that. No.
You have to deal with it.
What we're trying to do is create a critical mass of parents who are interested in delaying smartphones and social media. So far from my son's school, there are 160 going into his year, and almost 50 parents have agreed to delay smartphones, and 72 have so far agreed to delay Snapchat.
It's crazy what your brain tells you to do when you're a kid.
So maybe it's down to parenting, maybe it's down to, the school system, the government, the community, and the social structure which the child's raised. But on top of that, when me and you were kids, we didn't have the internet.
It's clear that the impact of this drama series will live on long after the credits roll. Evelyn O'Rourke, RT News, Dublin.
Well, staying with...
all of it for a fucking TV show, like
the impact will live on because you guys are making it live on.
You won't drop it. Like
this is not. None of this is fucking organic.
No.
Most people, if they didn't have this crammed down their fucking throat, would have watched that show and thought, yeah, that was actually an interesting show, a few things to think about, and it was really well made, and then they'll move on with their fucking lives.
Like that. If I hadn't forced you to watch it, it's not something you're watching off your own bat, is it? It's like you're not flicking through. Maybe if somebody recommended it to you, and even that, if you're like me, if someone recommends something, unless you regard the person highly based on your taste, you're going to watch it. But for me, 9 times out of 10, if somebody recommends something, it's like, yeah, maybe I'll get around to it eventually.
Well, look, I have my favorite types of shows. I like to laugh. I like police procedurals. A bit of sometimes some murder mystery. It has to be like Deadlock, which is an Australian series, which was a funny murder mystery. That's my jam. But no, I wouldn't have clicked on it. No. And I don't have that disease where I'm fucking paying how much is it now? 20 quid a month for Netflix. And, I just sit down in front of my fucking TV like a vegetable, going through all of these shows that I want nothing to do with. Yeah. And then I think, oh yeah, I'll watch that, sure, whatever.
Yeah. Generally it's a red flag, isn't it? Like Netflix production is usually enough to throw anybody with a half-functioning brain off. To begin with, there was a time when Netflix did produce, some half decent shows.
Oh yeah, they had some really good shows actually. Yeah, but now there's this agenda where they say, so we're just going to release stuff, just loads of stuff, just keep on releasing stuff, and that's my game plan. And then of course it's tanking as a company.
Good.
That subject. We're joined now by Alex Cooney. She co-founded CyberSafe Ireland, now known as CyberSafe Kids, and is currently its CEO. Thank you for coming in to speak to us on 6-1 this evening.
This woman is British to begin with.
Okay.
So she'll have no business in Ireland at all. How she got in, I don't fucking know. We need to expel every British person on the island if they voted Labour or Conservative. The last 20 years, they all need to be expelled. She also used to work for the UN, for UNESCO, looking after the children. And she somehow weaseled her way into Irish society, but she's all about the children and keeping the children safe online. So we'll listen to her wisdom.
All right.
Parents generally know how to keep their children safe in the real world. And despite knowing that online, that world is laden with all sorts of disturbing content, many feel they can't hold back the tide on it. What would you say to people who just feel really ill-equipped to deal with it?
You're so right. There are so many parents that are feeling really overwhelmed. And I think...
Yeah. And as a parent, I'm one of those parents. I'm overwhelmed on a daily basis by the internet. Just overwhelms me. I can't understand it. I don't know what's on it. So vast. I've tried covering everything to see what's there to keep my children safe, but I just can't, for the life of me, think of a way to keep them away from it. I don't understand it. I rang Tig earlier to ask him if he knows how to stop the internet, if there's anything that can be done to stop the children. But then I rang a professor of technology and internets, and he gave me a suggestion. He said, have you tried taking the devices off them, or turning the Wi-Fi off in the house, or just not letting them have access to it? I said, I haven't considered that at all. I've heard a story where someone tried it once and their children whinged at them, but they weren't able to contend with that because, they tried to say no, but that was considered toxic and they had to stop. They had to, acquiesce to their children's demands, and they didn't want to upset the children for fear of a visit from social services. Thank you. Yes, I'll try that going forward to say no. You can't do that, or to put a piece of software on the phone that blocks certain sites, or to sit down and talk with them occasionally and say, hey, listen, this thing that's going around, that Andrew Tate guy, well, let me sit down and tell you about that, what's really going on with that. And I'll explain it properly based on, the appropriateness of age, which I had that conversation with a 16-year-old about, must be a year and a half ago now.
All right.
And it was my daughter's boyfriend who, she told me during one of our conversations, state-sanctioned conversation, I had to get a license from the government to say it was okay to sit down and talk with my child. So I gave them the script of what I intended to say, and they approved it. And then I was okay to have the talk with her. Thank you to the Ministry for Education. I appreciate that. So she was telling me that her boyfriend is very into Andrew Tate. I said, is that right? You should invite him over. So then he came over and said, I heard you like Andrew Tate. Yeah. So then we had the conversation. I, laid it out, didn't freak out, just had a conversation with her. Well, listen, I tell you, who Andrew Tate is. I understand that a lot of what he says is true. And didn't shy away from it, didn't say like everything he says is horseshit, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, a lot of what he says is true. However, are you aware of this? Did you know this? This isn't good. What do you think of this? This, that, and the other. And he was sound and he got it. And, he's no longer interested in Andrew Tate in any big way, as far as I can tell. And I also told him that, if he treated my daughter like this, well then, I wouldn't kill him, but I would make it worse where, you treat my daughter like that. Well then, I will have you arrested. You will be known as a rapist around the town. And I'm sure you don't want that because it's a small town. But we were able to have, a civilized conversation as an older man to a young man.
Yeah.
And be cool about it,
How about that? Young people aren't this alien fucking race that just magically appeared like 5 years ago and we're still freaking out about like, oh, how do we deal with these people? No, they're children. They've been around forever.
Yeah. And it's our job to try and help them as best we can, to prepare for adulthood.
Just like talk to them sometimes. Yeah. I once I was having a drink with a girlfriend's friend once, and he was telling me about how he deals with his children online, his daughter in specific. And he allowed her to be on Discord, which I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, man, really? But she said, no. See, I have her login details. So I just kind of go through, the conversations that she has. And, there's a few times where I had to sit down and talk to her and say, look, do you know that guy there? I don't really, I don't think he's who he says he is. He might be older and his intentions might not be that good. And she said, yeah, okay, I get it. And then, she changed her behavior because, when you talk to children like they're real people, then they tend to, take on board what you have to say. Because
And guess what generally happens when you tell people they can't do something or something's forbidden from them? kind of piques their interest in it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, why is that?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
that forbidden fruit hanging on the apple tree over there? Oh, it's an iPhone, is it? Well, let's just grab it and eat the forbidden digital fruit. Shall I? But no, these people, no, but government will fix all fucking problems for you.
I think we have to look at this from kind of parents of younger children that have all of this ahead of them. And my advice to them would be to hold off giving their children their own devices and giving them access to particular apps and games. Do the research, make sure there's so much good information out there to guide your decisions. Think about healthy practices and habits in the household as well. For parents of older kids where this is, maybe something that they're already dealing with, it's about engaging to the extent that they can in what their children are doing online, having good habits in the whole household, like keeping devices out of bedrooms. So many children that we survey do tell us that they have access to their devices in the bedrooms. And this is not a good idea overnight because at a minimum level, it's disrupting sleep. But in another sense, they're also exposed to potentially inappropriate content, inappropriate contact.
And we know
She's
from
talking about parents and children as if children are like dogs or cats that you need to change their environment to get the better results out of their behavior. There's nothing in what she said about like, meeting your children on their terms in a way that they can understand what you're saying and your needs and concerns for them.
Yeah, and it's common fucking sense. Like, don't give your children, mobile phones if they're like 6 or fucking 7 or 8. It's like, oh, here.
Well, sadly, that some people need to hear that.
Yeah. Well, even if they do, like, they're like, I don't know. Is it many fucking people? And then is it a question of like, well, is it government's job to tell those people that they can't? And then are we looking at sanctions? Criminal proceedings because people gave their children communication devices. Because when, where that goes is to where we're going, which is, a digital services bill where the only way to protect the children is to protect everybody. And then you have to register to get online. And once you're registered, you go into the database and then, there's full access to the material that you're browsing. And then they set up filters to catch for certain words or websites you've visited and behaviors. And then you're identified, and then you have a hate speech law that can be interpreted 1,000 different ways. And then it's like, oh, well, what's your defense? But look, we have a clear pattern of, looking at things that we disagree with. Surely you're guilty according to the legislation. And this judge over here won't really care, even if in private he thinks that the whole system is a nonsense. All he cares about is applying the law as it appears before him, So sometimes we have to accept that there are idiots in the world. We also have to accept that people make mistakes. And we have to accept that, even sometimes children make mistakes, because it's the only way to fucking learn any real lessons is by experience. For all the best parenting in the world, you can't protect your children from life. It's not to say you throw them into a traffic jam and say, okay, learn if it's safe to cross the road or not. But there are certain things like, letting them out of the house and playing that teaches lessons on how to, interact with other fucking people. And
life gives circumstances, that you learn from. Yeah.
And this Netflix TV series, Adolescence, has also highlighted it, but lots of studies have shown that boys in particular are being targeted with violent, sexualised imagery and content. What are the repercussions of that for the boys and also for the rest of us in society?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming at them in so many different ways. And, these narratives are quite overwhelming online. And we're seeing that. There was an excellent study done by DCU Anti-Bullying Centre, led by Professor Debbie Ging, that looked at exactly this, particularly on...
There's an anti-bullying centre.
I know. Look, there's more money going around than anyone knows what to do with. So, it has to be spent somewhere.
Fucking hell.
YouTube and TikTok, and how in some cases the majority of the content they were seeing were following these narratives, and it is shaping in some cases their worldview, and it's at a very vulnerable time. Adolescence is a time when we feel lots of insecurities about ourselves and about our place in the world. So it's playing on those insecurities and those vulnerabilities, and potentially shaping really unhealthy narratives in their minds.
And these are algorithms, so it's intended. It's not a mistake that these children are being targeted, and parents might feel, what do I do in this situation? But they can't.
Like, is there an algorithm that's targeting children with porn? Didn't you just mention that like 10 seconds ago? Like sexual images and like shaping the narrative.
I need to pee badly. Let me go for a second.
Be left to deal with it alone, can they?
No, there are absolutely parents have a role to play, but this is also very much a tech company responsibility.
Yeah, let's go back there. Did she say parents have a role to play? Just the role, is it?
Those vulnerabilities, and potentially shaping really unhealthy narratives in their minds.
And these are algorithms, so it's intended. It's not a mistake that these children are being targeted, and parents might feel, what do I do in this situation? But they can't be left to deal with it alone, can they?
No, there are absolutely parents have a role to play.
Yeah, that's it. Parents can't be left alone to deal with it. Can't be trusted. How could you trust parents to deal with this crisis alone? But at least, as a parent, you have a role to play in this affair. So what's the role that parents have to play?
But this is also very much a tech company responsibility.
Okay.
They need to create safer online spaces that are safe by design and private by default for children, much in the way that we have designed the offline world. Think of a playground or schools that are designed to be appropriate and safe for children. These tech companies that are making so much money on the back of their users have a responsibility to ensure that children can thrive in the digital world and make the most of the opportunities that are there without being exposed to the level of harm and risk. And that means that this algorithm that is serving up so much inappropriate content to children and young people.
Okay, well, how about just don't let your children have fucking TikTok or Snapchat? How about that? That's pretty easy as a parent. Just, take it off the fucking phone. Or take the phone off the child if they continue to persist in having those apps on their phone. And at what age does it stop? Like, what, 18? 16? 17? Like, is there some arbitrary number here that isn't being mentioned? Okay, it seems like they're using the playground analogy. So I think parents pretty much have that covered. If and when they allowed their children to go online, that they pretty much have it covered on what they're watching. Like if it's YouTube, you just don't permit them to, have the full version of YouTube, or you give them kids YouTube. But I don't know what these people are particularly fucking talking about when they're talking about creating digital playgrounds for children. So they're using the analogy.
Oh, right.
In the real world, apart from the Matrix, that there are spaces for children.
Ghettos.
Yeah, playgrounds for children, and play barns, and you don't let children into certain arenas. But the internet is a wild west because parents just are so retarded that they just sign the kid into whatever account on their phone or on a computer, and just say, here's 4 letters, here's a couple of letters, PORNHUP or HUB. I can't spell apparently.
Pornhub. I'm interested.
Yeah, hit enter there and off you go. I'll be back in 2 hours. Let me know how you get on. But no, so parents can manage in the real world, not to just let their children walk into a fucking pub or a strip club and they say, listen, I'll be back in 2 hours. No, we manage that fine. And then online again, you can manage that fine as well.
We can do that again. Yeah. Oh, also, it's the same shit. It's just not going to work just because you do it harder. Have you heard of ElsaGate?
No.
Okay, so there are really bizarre cartoons and live action skits of people dressed up in superhero costumes, doing for kids videos that, will just randomly pop up in front of your fucking 6-year-old's face or whatever. And they're doing very odd things. Like, I think it was Spider-Man was giving birth, and he had a lump because, the little baby thing was underneath his shirt or something. And then, he's on the table or the bed with his legs up, and the fucking Elsa from fucking whatever that movie is helps him give birth. Weird stuff. Just on the edge of really fucking inappropriate material. So they're always going to find they out there, like people who actually are a fucking danger, are going to find a way to get to your children online. This is actually a danger that we have to take seriously. And you can't leave it up to a corporation or the government to keep your kids safe from that. You have to do that yourself. You have to review what your child is looking at online. And, I guess, you have to cut the cord at 18 and say, look, you're on your own. But, if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. And ideally, they will come to you if they need your help because you built a strong relationship from the very beginning.
And what these people are doing is they're training a whole fucking generation of people to be utterly dependent on the government for everything. Even how to think, like, and what information to process online. Because this woman here was the news presenter asked her a question like, do parents have a role to play in this? Like, not, surely this is parents' responsibility to deal with this. No, this is, asking, should parents have a role in this? And her answer was
secondary consideration.
Yes, they should have a role, but the main responsibility falls to tech companies. So tech companies should put in, the same narrative, ironclad rules and regulations around how children access the internet, how they do that, I don't know, like just block off swathes of the internet. But again, I can only say going one way, and that is, again, to introduce the internet passport. And there's different grades of the internet for people. So, you have your 6-year-old or 10-year-old, 15-year-old version of the internet. And then parents will be held responsible for that. And most parents will go, that's a great idea because now I don't have to worry about it again. Just this absolution of all responsibility, personal responsibility. Just give it over to the government. And then if you make a mistake, well, then you'll be fined. And that will, make sure you don't make that mistake again. Let's hear. We're nearly there. Let's hear what
it needs to be really looked at and changed.
Until that happens, bans, they're a fairly blunt instrument, and I know they've worked in some primary schools. Do they work, though? We saw Australia introduce a rule where no social media under 16. Does it work?
Well, first of all, the Australian legislation hasn't played out yet, so we don't know all the detail, we don't know how it will be enforced. But it's also not addressing all the places that children will be. It's talking about certain social media sites, but it's not including, for example, YouTube, WhatsApp, or any gaming platform. And when we look at that younger age group, gaming is a huge area of interest for them. So, if we're not regulating those spaces, then we're missing out on the potential to protect children from harm across the board. So,
just go get fucked.
Yeah,
I hate these fucking lobbyists.
I know.
It's like, oh, Jesus.
Probably childless as well. Yeah, I said probably childless. This woman looks very familiar to me. I'm sure I've seen her face.
Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah.
I would say bans are, in general, too blunt an instrument. We need to look at compelling tech companies to create these safer online spaces, but also supporting parents so that they feel that they can parent their children through this digital world.
And in the meantime, keep them away as long as possible and then watch what they're doing.
Yeah, engage, conversations, keep an eye on what they're doing.
OK, Alex Cooney from CyberSafe Kids, thank you for speaking to us on 6-1 this evening.
There's our society, appropriate response. Our society has this huge fucking problem now, right? Where, like, there's this whole thing of like, oh, people on the dole, the unemployed, the scroungers, the underclass, we need to get rid of them or take away their dole, right? Well, sure, I guess, we can have that conversation. But there's this other class of people on the dole, and it's been exposed by the cutting of USAID, or USAID, sorry. Where it turns out that all of these activists and all these public interest groups, they've been on the dole themselves, collecting money to do nothing really except go around telling people how to live their lives, and doing this primarily by lobbying our governments to change their policies and to enact laws. It's all over society. The German physicist Sabine Hossenfelder, she's big enough on YouTube, but she's turned a little reactionary lately, where she said that academia is communism, where she points out, like, we have this thing of where we are flooding academics with free money, and they're running off and doing fucking these bizarro social sciences studies, and asking bizarre questions about fucking potatoes and how they affect society. It's shit like this, or something about racism in Victorian fucking literature. This nonsense crap that just doesn't actually advance society, or science rather. And we've seen a marked downturn in scientific innovations, and this is the problem we have with society. We're just throwing money away to all these various people. So this woman here, for instance, that we saw on RT, and just go around telling people how to live their lives and what needs to change, without doing any kind of work herself. She's not she's not a nurse, she's not a teacher, she's not a construction worker. She does nothing other than this.
Yeah.
What kind of society is this? And are we really going to let those people steer our decision making and how we live our lives?
Yeah. Well, the problem is we do. It's just the real question is, what are we going to do about it, or what can be done about it? So we could, go down the route of what's happening in, or what appears to be happening in the States, and by some miracle, we get people into government who are actually serious about cutting the size of government, because the Irish government is fucking enormous, and the plan is just it's exponential. It's just to expand, keep expanding. We had Eamon Ryan before he, went into the wilderness there for the second time in his career. I think this is the second time he's retired from politics. But his main complaint was that government just wasn't big enough, if you can imagine that in Ireland.
Yeah, for our foreign viewers, Eamon Ryan is the head of the Green Party.
Yeah, so I think they now have one elected representative in the Irish Parliament,
and they're out of government now.
Yeah, there's one too many. So his main complaint was that government isn't big enough, but the Irish government is massive, so big that they couldn't handle all the work themselves, so they had to farm it out to various NGOs and social enterprises. The benefit of that was that they got to absolve themselves of all responsibility, and then when something goes terribly wrong, they just point the finger at the NGO responsible for it, and then they just pointed back at the government, and then nobody's actually held accountable for fucking anything. But that's a massive spend for government. I think that sector's something like €8 billion a year goes into that sector. But that feeds back well for government because it distorts the unemployment figures. Because what they do, like you said, there's two types of dole. And that first subset of people, you said people who are long-term on the dole get plucked from the dole, and then they're essentially used as cheap labor for those non-governmental agencies. Because they will send letters out to people who've been on the dole for, I think it's 2 years, maybe it's a year now or longer, and tell them, listen, if you don't take up this position with this organization, your dole will be cut. So then people are essentially forced into, not the actual labor market, but they're forced into these organizations. And then these organizations use that pool as cheap labor. And then the CEOs and the upper management within those groups usually get paid 60, 70, 80 grand a year to run them. And then if you look at any NGO or social enterprise, you will see that normally 80% of their funding is spent on salaries. And I had a look at this woman's organization, and it's the same thing. She's not as greedy as others. I think she gets somewhere between 40 and 50 grand. But they had a deficit last year of 30 grand. So they're 30 grand in the hole, that they had cash reserves so they can manage that. But all their money comes from either Irish government funding, a little bit of EU funding, and then some philanthropic enterprises who throw in money behind them as well. But all their money is essentially gobbled up, or the majority of it, in salary. And then the rest of the money is running these programs. So like going to schools to run programs, creating leaflets to create programs. And then they also have their train the trainers. So they will focus on people in, say, like Maynooth College, in the teacher training college. So they will focus their efforts on getting those particular people into their programs. So then they take it on board. And then when they train the teachers, those trainers essentially pass on that knowledge to the teachers. And then in a very short period of time, you can transpose a particular idea or ideology into fucking hundreds of teachers who in turn will then, pass that on to their students. And then, the old thing in the company is about 25 years to change the thinking of a society. It's got to be down to, maybe it's still 25. I know, but it's particularly easy to do it. And a lot of people, again, given the current situation with tariffs and whatnot, whatever the fuck is going on there. But if those tariffs are imposed on the pharmaceutical industry, and the Americans do decide that they want their industry to go back to the States, and they want their own people to enjoy the benefits of kind of high-end manufacturing jobs, there'll be a whole new generation of people on the dole who haven't been used to it at all, and probably will have no hope of living on the dole, because, certain lifestyles cost a lot of money to maintain. And a lot of people in Ireland are, struggling under a severe amount of personal debt to keep it all going. And so they'll fall by the wayside. And we've no kind of plan B, so to speak, on how we pick the economy up, other than to go begging around the rest of the world, maybe to China, to the Emirates, to say, please, can you invest in our country now that the Americans are gone? Hello, Mr. Qatari. Would you like to come in and build all these solar farms for us and wind farms for us? In return, you can have our land for a song. And then we go out with the begging bowl. But yeah, the last thing we need is more government. But again, if, like the States, if there was people to come in and cut spending, it would be horribly painful for a lot of people. But, getting beyond the short term, it does need to be done if we're to survive as a country and have some sort of viable economic and real sovereignty in the future. We need to get our house in order as a country rather quickly. And we also need to solve the immigration problem as well, because again, if all that juicy foreign direct investment money goes down the Swanee, well, then we're left holding a giant shit can.
Mm.
And I think if it
Yep.
comes to, okay, well, do we send all the refugees home, or do we start slashing social welfare benefits? Well, then again, blindly people will go, yes, slash the social welfare benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will realize, oh shit, hang on a minute, I haven't factored what's coming down the road 2 years from now. And then they'll be happy with that. But there'll always be that subset of people who won't suffer, and that's primarily the government sector. And so everybody in the private sector, anybody who's on social welfare proper, will suffer. But the 500,000 or so people who are employed by the state, nothing will change. Nothing ever changes for them. They're all unionised, and they have a stranglehold on everything. And have you ever seen a government department take a cut in wages? I can't, in my living memory, I don't remember.
It only goes up.
Yeah, and they vote for it themselves. And then if they're not happy, well then, because they've such a stranglehold with the unions, they just go on strike and bring everything to a crashing halt.
We're talking 1 in 12 people are employed by the state. That's
madness.
Shocking. Yeah, and that's a very strong lobby group, you know.
Yeah, and I think the way they want it is for 12 and 12 to be employed by the state, because then it becomes in everybody's best interest to make sure the state maintains. Because, and again, we haven't even factored in to account the effects of technology, which is really going to make a lot more jobs redundant as well. So most things in the future, I think, will be automized. But
I don't
all we
think
can do is worry about tomorrow. But the banking industry will be gone, like the fucking customer service industry is nearly gone. I'd rather talk to an AI than an Indian, to be honest, like on the phone. It seems more charming as long as the AI doesn't have an Indian accent. I'll be happy with that. But lots of problems. No shortage of those. But yeah, really, do we need a government agency now to tell us, show us the way with our children? So they should really just take them off us, if I'm honest, at this stage. They know better. Give us visiting rights.
Just get rid of the illusion that we own our own children, and just take them away. Yeah, it's painful going through the slow slog of slowly losing all of your rights. Just take them all away. Just quick, sharp shock, and get it over with. That's my opinion.
Yeah, there we go. There's a manifesto people can believe in. Give your children up now.